This is our fifth speech already. Here we are for today. Please make use of the chat to introduce yourself. I'll be calling on the little highlight of what's going to happen today. And this is it. The first thing, we're having a special guest of honor. Our fifth speech already. Here we are for today. And we're having a special guest of honor, is our own Lagos State Governor, Mr. Governor Jide Sanwo-olu. We also have speakers, very special speakers. Remember that this is a 2-day event and you really, really enjoy it. The theme for this event is resilience. Conversations about resilience, and this is quite important with all that is going on in the society. So are you ready? Please don't forget to introduce yourself. We have 4 speakers. We have Ndidi Okonkwo of AACE, Foods and Sahel Consult. We have Dr. Nnaeto Orazulike. We also have, of Genesis Sports, we have System Specs, Mr. John Obaro. And we have Dr. Stella Okoli, the pharmaceutical, M's of pharmaceuticals. So your power packs, we're ready for you. And here we are. I'll be handing over to our very own ED Executive Director, Adenike Adeyemi. Wonderful woman, our powerhouse. Please join me to welcome Adenike Adeyemi. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Good morning, everyone. If you can all hear me, just say hello on the chat screen. If you can hear me, just say hello on the chat screen. Fantastic. Fantastic, I can see that. So my name is Adenike Adeyemi, and I am the Executive Director for Faith Foundation, and I am delighted and honored to welcome all of us to our conference today. This conference is themed Conversations on Resilience, and with us over the next 2 days between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. every day, today and tomorrow, we're going to have 4 entrepreneurial leaders share with us their journeys, their insights, their experiences, not just even in the last few months, because we don't want to make it just about the pandemic, but as they built their businesses across different fields, across different sectors and industries. And so we're really, really excited. We're also excited because it is a time of us to also learn, share, and engage with each other. And so after each of the speaker sessions, we're going to have moderated Q&A sessions that will be moderated by our alumni members. Once again, this conference is a conference for alumni members and by alumni members. And when I say by alumni members, what that means essentially is that we've worked to organize this conference with the Alumni Executive Committee, the Faith Foundation Alumni Executive Committee that was set up last September. The new committee was set up last September at our 4th annual conference. And they were set up, they were voted in by the alumni members, and we inaugurated, and we have an exciting team that has been working with the Faith Foundation team over the last few months to design a program and ensure that all the support that alumni needs is effectively communicated to the Faith Foundation team and also monitor in this part. So it really has been a last couple of months where they've planned and they've worked towards putting all of this together. And that's really where we are. But you know, once again, this is really a year that we're all excited and we're looking forward to at the foundation. It is our 20th year. So we're 2 decades of the founding of Faith Foundation, and all the speakers that we have today in different ways speak to different parts of Faith Foundation, right from our first speaker, who was our pioneer executive director and who really took Faith Foundation's name nationally and globally, and up to our second speaker, who was also a member of the advisory board of our Port Harcourt office, to our third speaker and our fourth speaker, who are both previous award winners for the Faith Foundation Faith Foundation Model Entrepreneur Award, our FME award, which is given to non-Faith Foundation entrepreneurs. And so, and speaking of awards, we're building up to our November 3rd annual celebration, which is happening, which is going to be our graduation, our annual celebration, as most of us know, and also our award ceremony. So we hope that you've all filled in your applications and nominations for the recipients of this year's FAME Awards, which is our Faith Alumni Model Entrepreneur Award, or the Faith Model Entrepreneur Award for that. So we'll be sending in links for that in the course of this program, and you'll be seeing quite a lot of updates on that. And so we're here, we're excited, and we welcome everyone that has joined in on board. Just before we move on once again, I would like to encourage us to please remember that the hashtag for the conference is Faith Conference, F-A-T-E Conference, and the team members will be putting that on, the Faith team will be putting that on the chat now. We can see that there's so many people already putting in. In fact, I'm really trying to scroll up and down to see there are quite a lot of people already who have shared. We see so many people from, I can see AEP, I can see ScaleUp, I can see EEP, I can see Lagos, I can see Port Harcourt, I can see education businesses. I see so many, many familiar names that if I start to mention names, I'll be accused of bias. You're all welcome, everyone. You're all welcome, everyone. It's really exciting. Let's make sure that we also remind those who are on our WhatsApp group, our other members, to also remember to join in and join on board that we've started so that they can come in. So once again, you're welcome. I'm delighted and I'm honored to represent the Faith Foundation team to be here. Again, the theme for this conference is conversations on resilience, and the four speakers will be having over the course of the next 2 days between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. We'll be going through the different aspects and the interpretations of that theme based on the focus areas that we've set to them. So, without much ado, I would like to now hand over. Remember that I said this is a conference for alumni members, by alumni members, and we are really just supporting the alumni community to do that. We earlier had on our host, Ndidi Okonkwo, who is the General Secretary, come up to introduce herself, and she's the host for the conference. But I am now honored and delighted to introduce our president, our current president of the Faith Foundation Alumni Executive Committee. You know, he's someone who, from my first day, I joined Faith Foundation in 2015, and I think a few weeks after we had a workshop, you know, and he engaged me right away. He was interested in knowing what we were doing at Faith and how the organization was evolving, and he's been very active. He's been a mentor, he's been a facilitator, he's been an advisor. Some of us on the OCN, Orange Corners One program, know him as the entrepreneur in residence, you know, and he's really a friend of entrepreneurs. And he's grown his business, he's built his business, but he also consistently gives back to Faith Foundation in the time being. I am talking about none other than Max Menkiti, the CEO of Millennium Apartments, is a graduate of our EEP program, and is the president of the Faith Foundation Alumni Executive Committee. So please all join me by putting a hi, Mr. Max, hi, President, on the chat screen as I hand over to the president of the Alumni Executive Committee to give the opening remarks and the welcome. Welcome, Mr. President. It is over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Today is finally here. It's the day that we've been working so hard to bring to you all. I want to welcome you all on behalf of the executive committee members for the Faith Foundation alumni. Welcome. These 2 days that we're going to be immersed in are going to be some of the most wonderful, life-changing times you'd ever sit in. 2020 has been a bit of a rough year, and the topic of today's speeches and the focus of today's presentations will be based on resilience. Resilience is what I would call the position we take as entrepreneurs that's opposite in direction to the recession. So get your pens ready, get your paper ready. You're going to have an awesome time today and tomorrow. Don't forget, you need to log back in tomorrow, because at the end of the day, we're going to reveal a fantastic package that is going to be awesome for all alumni community members. So having welcomed you, I'd like to tell a small story, just a few seconds. What do you think would happen in a society, let's say Nigeria, if all the money in the society was taken away from everybody and shared equally amongst every living Nigerian? You know, we have this thing in Nigeria where we always talk about the national cake, the national cake, the national cake. So what do you think would happen if this national cake was shared across everyone equally? I'd like you to go to the chat box and type. If you think everybody would grow wealth equally, type yes. If you think after 2 years there would be some wealth inequality, type no. Now, this actually happened it's a real life social experiment. There was a village in the Far East, close to Tibet and those areas, where the village elders were very, very concerned about inequality in their society. They found out that a few people in that society had most of the money, and a lot of the other people in that society had little money. So they got together and with wisdom, they had meetings and decided that the best thing to do to grow an even society was to take all the money back from everybody there and to share it equally amongst all the adult citizens, male, female, farmer, entrepreneur, truck driver. So they did this, and the results were amazing. I'm not going to tell you right now what the results were. I'd like you to put in the chat box what you think they would be. So if I bring that to Nigeria, what do you think would happen to you, Mr. Entrepreneur, Madam Entrepreneur, to me? What do you think would happen if we all got our fair share of the Nigerian cake? The answer to this is going to be revealed in 2 formats: short form by me to the story, and in long form, it's going to unfold over these 2 days. You can't afford to miss a thing. Open your minds and be ready for inspiration. I'll get back to the answer of the question, but I want to see some of your texts out in the chat box. I'd like to see what you are answering. Okay, we have no's, no's, no's. Okay, I can't see any yeses there, but I'll give you the answer to what happened in that village. Very powerful. And that may give us a clue to what we need to do now in this recession. So having said that, I'd like to welcome you all again on behalf of my EXCO team members and Faith Foundation to our 5th annual and digital edition of our annual conference. It promises to be an exciting time. It promises to be absolutely jam-packed. Don't miss a thing. I want to try also to encourage everyone here. You know, doom and gloom is very easy to slide into. Yeah, we know some things don't work right in Nigeria. Getting some things done are a bit difficult. However, in every society, there are always success stories. I want to encourage everyone here. It's in a recession that wealth shifts. Wealth shifts from those that know, wealth shifts from those that don't how to accumulate wealth, it shifts from their hands into the hands of the few. So I'd encourage you, don't look at the recession as a moment to be despondent. It's a moment for you to tighten up, build resilience, and do what you need to do to get yourself out. If you can position properly and succeed in this time, the future indeed, as they say, will be bright when the boom times come. Moving on here, I would like to conclude the story that I told you. Now, in this village, the leaders found that a few people had money in their hands and they were concerned about it. So what did they do? They shared money. What happened after 2 years is this. They found out that the very same people that had accumulated wealth before had attracted all the money back. Yes. So the same people had attracted all the money back. Now you may ask yourself, what happened? Why is that so? The reasons are right evident before us. It's not so much about the money you're given to start. It's not so much about what happens. You can look at what happened to the rich people when the society took their money away as what's happening now, an unforced recession. What's happening in the world today, a COVID interruption. Imagine having all your wealth taken from you. So these people, because of what they learned and what they knew, and they were willing to go into action, they went to work again, delivering value and services to the society. And time over time, the money gradually shifted from those that weren't able to deliver superior value into the hands of those that could deliver superior value. I welcome you to this conference because it's a time for you to get value, superior value, get the knowledge, learn how to deliver it, and I promise you, success is going to be yours. There is a promise that if you can learn what successful people know and do what successful people do, you surely will be successful. It's a matter of time. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our speaker. This is a very, very powerful lady, very, very intelligent lady. She's a lady that has been through it and seen it all. Harvard degree, she's got it. Degree in America, she has it, basic degree. She has set up her own foundation, Leap Africa. She has even grown that, passed it on to a board that runs it efficiently. She has set up new companies. She has been involved in changing many, many lives through her philanthropic organizations. She has generated lots of money within her companies. She's doing amazing things. I've had the opportunity to hear her speak, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure that you're going to be richly blessed when you hear her speak. I'm talking about no other than Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli. I'm sure you've all seen her bio. She's someone that speaks in a straight version, and she's someone that gives details. Take your pen and paper and try to catch, even if it's just one piece of inspiration, try and catch it. It's going to be an awesome time. So without further ado, I want you to join me in welcoming in the chat box there, our next speaker, a fantastic lady, Madam Ndidi Nwuneli. Madam Nwuneli, you're welcome to Faith Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, she is the first, or she was the first, and that is the pioneer ED of this great institution, this great organization. You need to know that. So this is a coming home for her of sorts. And it's fitting that on the 20th year in which Faith Foundation celebrates its 20th anniversary, she's invited back to this platform to speak to us. Ladies and gentlemen, I see it. Madam, you're welcome. I'm going to grab my paper and pen because I don't also want to miss out on what you're going to say. Welcome. Great to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor and privilege. And thank you for those very kind words. You're a phenomenal president and Faith is lucky to have you. Thank you, Adenike. I want to really give honor and praise to Adenike and the fantastic team at Fate Foundation for keeping the vision going, and to the alumni. You make it all worth it. I started running Fate Foundation when I was only 25 years old, and it was such a privilege that Mr. Foladiola, the founder, gave to me. And I have great, great memories from my time at Fate. I'm still in touch with many of the entrepreneurs, and I'm just so proud of the legacy. 20 years is a huge deal. So, congratulations, Fate Foundation. Congratulations to the board and to the visionaries. I wanted to just mention, Adenike, that Stella Okoli was actually one of our pioneer board members of the Fate Foundation and became my Lagos mommy, both her and Auntie Taiwo from the Fate Foundation, and I'm still very close to both of them till this day. So thank you. I have a presentation which I've prepared, and I know that I have limited time because you have such a great lineup of speakers. So I'm going to walk through the presentation with you, and hopefully in 20 minutes, then we'll have some time for Q&A. I hope you can all see the presentation and hear me clearly. Okay, so I'll go ahead. I've been asked to speak about identifying new opportunities and untapped potential. And Max and Adenike have already talked about the crisis that we're currently facing and your SMEs. So you know more than ever before. When Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition did a survey, and I know Fate also did a survey, 84% of SMEs reported decreased sales, difficulty paying staff. Many had to change their production volumes. I'm speaking to the converted. I work as an entrepreneur in the food and agriculture landscape, and what we saw was that our ecosystem was shaken to the core. Dramatic increases in food prices, which have affected all of us because we all buy food in Lagos. And the recent NBS statistics show that 57% of household income is spent on food. The shortage of raw materials, the delays in the planting season, the currency devaluation hasn't helped us for those of us who are dependent on any raw materials from imports. But we all had to start using a lot more technology and start adapting to price sensitivity because our consumers and our customers were also facing the same challenges we were. There's also a few critical issues that we learned in our space around the lack of credible data, the lack of safety nets with so many vulnerable people. For the first time in my life, I got messages from hardworking carpenters and electricians and painters who had worked for me saying, I need money. I had never seen this in 20 years of living and working in Nigeria. And we all felt this pressure. I'm sure you did too. Getting calls and messages, not just from your family members, but from people in your ecosystem who ordinarily would never be those asking for help. So we all are facing this crisis. And the sad reality, entrepreneurs, or the good news, depending on what side of the fence you're on, is that we're going to be facing this new normal for at least the next 12 to 18 months. The whole concept of we're going to wake up tomorrow and there'll be a vaccine and COVID-19 would have disappeared is not something that anybody in the world has predicted. In fact, 2022 is when we're going to actually start seeing a lot more normality, which means that we have to brace ourselves and redefine our general approach in this new normal. So what are some attributes required from you as a leader during this time? The first is vision. You're going to have a vision to redesign and to disrupt your value chain, your ecosystem, and the way you operate. You're going to need more empathy than ever before, not just for your staff, but also for external stakeholders. You are going to have to manage money in ways that you never imagined and to plan for different scenarios, a best case, a mid case, and a worst case. And this planning is for the next 12 to 18 months. You're going to have to find ways to incorporate technology and innovation in your ecosystem. I've spoken at many Fate alumni conferences, and this is the first virtual. So Fate has adapted. All of us have to adapt. You're going to have to collaborate with others, your competitors, your customers, your suppliers in ways that you've never done before. And the good news is that so many people are more willing to collaborate than they ever have been. And you're going to have to get involved in shaping policy for your ecosystem at the local level, the state level, and the federal level to ensure that you create an ecosystem that works for you and works for others in your industry. And that's why this alumni association is so important, because you are a force already. You together working through this pandemic together are a force, and Faith Foundation can help you to shape policy. But you have to engage with the Manufacturers Association, NASI, NASIMA. I found that in ways like never before, I'm shaping policy for the food and agriculture landscape, because so many of the people sitting in positions of authority to shape policy for us don't have a clue what we're facing on a daily basis. So we must change our mindsets as entrepreneurs. And then we also have to see this crisis as an opportunity. Crisis is a terrible thing to waste. How are you leveraging this crisis? I've just written a book which will be published in a few weeks, called Food Entrepreneurs in Agriculture, Scaling Resilient Agriculture Businesses. And I just want to share the meat of this presentation is really around what you are going to have to do to rebuild, retool, and redesign. And from interviewing entrepreneurs across Africa for the last 1 year, interviewing funders, interviewing entrepreneurs who are scaling, there are 6 things that you need. And I want you, as you listen, to evaluate your business model, because many of you are going to have to change your business model if you don't have these 6 things in place. The first is that your product or service has to be demand-driven with measurable value addition. And I know many of you will say, well, it's demand-driven, I have customers. No, 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 no. You have to really say, do you have customers today? Will you have customers in 18 months? And these are customers who are willing to pay what you deserve. And I'm not talking about a few friends and family. I'm talking about millions of people, and millions of people willing to pay for what you offer. This is what you have to evaluate. And if you don't have that product or service, how can you pivot? How can you change? I can tell you that so many entrepreneurs have been pivoting during this time because of the need to say, I have to be demand driven. The demand of last week is not the demand of this week. If I was someone who was doing makeup in the period of lockdown, how would I have to evolve? How would I have to change? And I've watched so many entrepreneurs have to change their business model because they realize, I can't be selling makeup anymore. Maybe I should be teaching classes on how to provide makeup support or how to build a business. I'm charge people for those classes until individuals start going out again and using makeup as they used to be. The second is how you're leveraging innovation, technology, data. And I always scream because my faith entrepreneurs should know better, but we don't use data. You have data every single day from your suppliers and from your customers and from your competitors. How are you using it? How disciplined are you about evaluating the prices and how they are changing? I always use a perfect example. I have a baker I've been going to for the last 10 years, but this baker never sends me text messages saying, oh, your husband's birthday is next week. Have you ordered his cake? They have data on me because they made a cake for my husband. They made a cake for my daughter. And yet they never remind me. And guess what? They're at risk of losing me because other people are using the data about me to sell me products and services. How are you using the data you have? How are you leveraging innovation? How are you leveraging technology to reduce your costs, to expand your influence, to reach more consumers? Third is shaping your ecosystem. And I talked about this from a policy perspective. We all were shocked when Lagos State banned Okadas, and we laughed. Some of us laughed about how, this company, OPay and others, were not going out to shape policy. And obviously, we're going to be listening to the Lagos State governor. But if you're someone in an industry that's not at the forefront of shaping policy, then you are going to miss out. And you have to, if in many cases, even write the policy. I'm in the food industry. We've had to write the standards for the ginger sector because they did not exist. Instead of waiting for other people to set the standards, we had to write them. Fourth is your cost efficiency and your systems and structures. And I'm sure you all learned this at Fate, but this is a good time to reevaluate your systems and structures and how you're managing your business. Many of us don't realize that we have opportunities to remove waste, to cut costs, to remove excesses in our ecosystem and in our business. Fifth is your branding and marketing. And I have to tell you, many of us are failing here. And this, I have a whole chapter on this in my book, because I realized that so many of the same people get funding. So many of the same people get awards. And we wonder why. Why are they the ones getting me? I'm working so hard. The reason is because they know how to package themselves and how to tell their story. And so many of us are doing a poor job. There's so much funding chasing African entrepreneurs, so much, in fact, more funding than we know what to do with. But many of us are not well positioned to take advantage of this funding because our stories are not well packaged. Our products are not well packaged. There's no alignment in our personal brand and our corporate brand. And I'm sure we could go on and on about this, but this is a huge gap. And this is a good time for you to reevaluate your story. And the final, but most important, is our DNA around resilience. COVID-19 was one shock, but the sad reality is that this is just an indication of the many, many shocks we're going to have. So many shocks. Climate change is a shock, flooding, drought, but there's so many shocks that are coming. And this pandemic is one of many more pandemics. The question is, how have you built in resilience into your DNA? What have you done with how you've built your business to ensure resilience? How are you mitigating against shocks? How are you adapting to shocks? These are 6 critical components, and I'll just break it down for you. The purchasing power right now in Nigeria is so low that if you're making a food product, if you're not, your price point is not below 50 cents. I use dollars because this is a presentation I give globally. You're not going to work. You know, Indomie is a good example. Their peg is 50 naira. They peg Indomie to a cost of 1 egg. So a consumer is saying, should I buy an egg or should I buy Indomie? Which one is more filling? And that mindset has to drive everything you do in the food ecosystem. And the same applies to every industry. There's a price point you have to work at. And as I've talked about technology, this cartoon was really funny during COVID. It says, who led the digital transformation of your company? The CEO, the CTO, or COVID-19? And truly, all of us will say COVID-19. All of us will say, we had to wake up and smell the coffee. And I'm sure all of you have boards, but if you don't, my brothers and sisters, you need a board like never before, especially because this is part of your resilience during this period and beyond. Corporate governance is a necessity during times of crisis. Leap Africa has written a great book called Get on Board, which I recommend to all of you. We wrote it back in 2006, but it's still our best-selling book because many Nigerian entrepreneurs don't have strong boards, don't understand the need for strong boards, don't understand how to engage strong boards. Your board will ensure your safety and security, your business continuity, your financial risk management, help you manage supply chain disruptions, etc., etc. So you need a board. And as you recover, you need a board through this resilience period, ensuring that you can respond and serve as a catalyst for recovery. Now, let me talk about some suggested interventions and make it very practical. As a leader, more than ever before, you need vision, you need faith, you need passion, you need agility. Agility is speed, your response time, your agility, your speed to respond as things are changing, your ability to communicate, and your relationship management. How deep are your relationships? You also need to ensure that your employees have ownership and hunger and commitment to excellence. This is a good time to look at your staff and say, who is going to be with me in the long term and who can hang? And maybe you have to exit them into their destinies. Your employees have to have emotional intelligence like never before and strong values of integrity, because as there's pressure to reach sales targets, there's also an urge to cut corners and to meet those targets, and integrity is critical. And I've talked about some of these already, but as I think about it, really we have to stabilize our businesses and we have to adapt to a new reality. As many of you know, after Faith Foundation, I started Leap Africa. And Leap Africa has expanded to 6 African countries. And Max talked about the fact that I stepped out of day-to-day leadership of Leap in 2007, and I just serve on the board. And one of the things that Leap continues to do is reinvent itself. And this is really critical, especially for you who are in social enterprises. We're having our Social Innovators Program on Awards, and it's going to be a digital program on October 1st and 2nd. But one of the things that has struck me about Leap's ability to adapt in crisis is how they've leveraged their programs across Africa using technology and redefining their approach, leveraging technology. You also know that I'm the co-founder of Ace Foods. Ace Foods is 11 years old now, and I hope all of you listening are consumers of Ace Foods or distributors of Ace Foods. Ace Foods basically realized during the COVID-19 pandemic that we could not shut down. In fact, that we were at the front lines. We got involved in shaping policy to ensure that the Governors Forum included food as a critical, essential product or service, because actually they were going to restrict movement for even people in the food industry. And what we decided was that we were going to start feeding people, the most vulnerable, that even as an SME, we were going to show that we were corporate strong values, and we're going to show that we committed to our environment. So we partnered with a range of organizations. We donated food to Lagos State, we donated food to Ogun State, and then we started a GoFundMe campaign, because at some point we had donated to 10 organizations. We couldn't keep donating and be a going concern. So we started a GoFundMe campaign, and we got friends all over the world to help us feed families. And so we're able to now contribute to more organizations in Plateau State, Enugu State, Ogun State, and Lagos State, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and government agencies. And this is an interesting idea, is that you know that there are going to be food drives, and you know that you can't keep donating, even if you have complementary food that fights moderate malnutrition, but you can partner with others to cover your costs and do well and do good at the same time. Similarly, my day job is that I run Sahel Consulting, which works across West Africa, transforming the agriculture and nutrition landscape. And we partner with a range of institutions. And one of our interventions is called the Advancing Local Dairy Development in Nigeria program. And in this program, we're working in 5 states in Nigeria: Kaduna, Kano, Adamawa, Jigawa, and Plateau, with 6 dairy processors. We're putting nomadic communities into clusters, providing them with training, solar-powered boreholes so they have access to water, vet services and vet care. We're creating a whole feed and fodder industry so these cows have feed and they don't have to travel to get feed. We're training the women, providing milk collection infrastructure and milk cans. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a question during the lockdowns: do we stop this program? And the agreement was no. In fact, we have to pivot. So one of the things we did was actually to provide masks to 16,000 farmers. We provided COVID-19 training to all our clusters, and we had to reduce the training capacity to 20 people instead of 50 people at each farm. But what they've shown us is how important the milk industry is and livelihoods are to agriculture. And we continue to push forward, redefining and modifying our approach. And we didn't shut down for one day. And I'm so proud of the teams working in our Abuja office and in all our offices across Nigeria who kept going. Similarly, we have a Sahel Scholars Program where we have this conference. And every year we go to 5 universities to get young people excited about agriculture. We give internships and scholarships as part of our CSV. And this year we had to make it virtual. We gave airtime to all our students, and we even had a professors conference and educators conference. And guess what? It showed us that we should not be limiting our conference to Nigeria. We should have an Africa-wide or global conference. So next year it's going to be a global Sahel Scholars Conference. So what COVID-19 did was show us that we could remove the walls and the barriers between countries because technology elevated our work. And instead of giving the students item 7, we could give them airtime, and they were really happy to have this. Similarly, with our sister company, Sahel Capital, which invests in companies across Nigeria, they quickly adapted to COVID-19, decongesting their factories, decongesting their farms, but ensuring that they kept on moving. And the final business I'll talk about is my newest baby called Nourishing Africa. Nourishing Africa was born during COVID-19 and has raised funding during COVID-19. And I'm saying this to give all of you confidence that even during this difficult period, people are birthing new companies and they're setting up new boards and they're raising financing. So COVID-19 actually showed us why Nourishing Africa was so important. The idea came to me last year when I was writing this book. As I'd go to countries interviewing people, I'd say, oh, who else should I be talking to in agriculture in Ethiopia? They'll say, I don't know. I'll go to entrepreneurs in Kano. Who else should I be talking to? I can't vouch for anybody. And I realized how fragmented the agriculture ecosystem was. Every day I'd get requests. Ndidi, give us funding, links to funders. Ndidi, give us links to data. I want to enter the poultry industry. Give me an industry report. So I put everything on a website. And it's a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs in agriculture and food landscape. And Faith and alumni, if you're not on this platform and you're in the food and agriculture landscape, you're missing out. It's a free platform where you get access to mentors, funding, training, data, etc. And this was launched during COVID-19. We have a membership portal where you have access to a marketplace and referrals. We have an Ask an Expert intervention. We have an e-learning platform, and we've just launched an entrepreneur support program where you'll be getting grants to rebuild and reinvent yourself during and post COVID-19. So this is just to show you that even in COVID-19, we are moving. And we just had our first board meeting yesterday, and it was pure magic. Board members from across Africa, board members who are not paying because we're a startup and who are giving their time for free, but they're well-respected individuals in different countries, South Africa, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, and just phenomenal. And after the board meeting, I told the team, I said, this was pure magic. When you find the right people who believe in your vision, you are elevated to levels you never imagined. The ideas and the wisdom that these board members shared was phenomenal. And there's no way I could have done it by myself without this group. And on a personal level, COVID-19 and this period has allowed me to also amplify my voice. And this is an encouragement to all of you. How many of you are writing op-eds? How many of you are writing articles? How many of you are getting involved in podcasts? This is a time to amplify your voice. I've written all these op-eds, which have actually shaped public discourse. The first op-ed was in March. Immediately this pandemic started, I said, how can we make sure that hunger doesn't kill more people than COVID-19? I started getting calls from people saying, what do you mean? There's no hunger problem. We have enough food. Now, those same people are the ones calling me saying, I wish I did something different. And the last one I'll mention is that we were invited last year, my husband and I, to give a keynote address at Harvard Business School's graduation, the first Africans and the first couple at Harvard Business School. There have been many other people at other schools at Harvard. And at first, we're so excited. We bought these tickets. 20 family members were going to come and hear us speak. And then COVID-19 happened. We had to change our speech, change everything we're doing, and we had to do it virtually. And guess who filmed it? Wale, a Fate alumni. He did a phenomenal job and did it for nothing. Just came and spent time with us to film our speech. But instead of 900 students and their families watching, this was now watched by people all over the world. And the messages we got from it were phenomenal. I just showed you that through a disappointment, there was a blessing. And I just wanted to underscore this. So as I wrap up, I want to just encourage you. We need a new tribe of entrepreneurs in Nigeria. And I think COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to build back better, to build back individually our lives and our work and our staff, but also to build back our companies better. We need entrepreneurs who are visionary, who are innovative, who are humble, who are ethical, who are lifelong learners, and who are philanthropists. Now, to be a lifelong learner, you have to be self-aware. And as an entrepreneur, I'm growing every day. I realize I have blind spots. I have parts of my life and parts of my approach that are not good, that will not help me move forward. So as an entrepreneur, you have to commit to personal growth and development. You have to read widely. You have to find a prayer and accountability partner. I've had the same one for 20 years. You have to commit to an exercise today after you finish this webinar or this conference. Ask 2 people in your lives, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? When was a time I inspired you? When was a time I disappointed you? The feedback that you get from them should help shape you in this period. You have to change your mindset and adapt a growth mindset where you see a problem, where there's a problem, you see an opportunity. Where you don't know, you find out. When people criticize, take it as a feedback. Welcome criticism. When something appears too hard, commit to making sure that it's worthwhile. And go up this ladder from saying, I can't do it, to I will do it, I can do it. Feedback is a gift. And so many of us, especially in Nigeria, we don't like feedback. We only like praise. But as an entrepreneur, you have to embrace feedback. You have to be comfortable receiving feedback and giving feedback. You also have to invest in relationships. Max has obviously invested in his relationships at Faith Foundation. How much do we invest in relationships where we have more on our credit rather than our debit? Many of us only call people when we need help, but we're not invested in those relationships.
Sorry,
We
5
have to
minutes
shift
more.
our mindset. Sure, I'm rounding up. We have to shift our mindset from a growth mindset to even legacy mode, where we're thinking about what will happen when we're no longer here. We have to be innovative. We have to see things that are better and faster and more. We have to be ethical. And I want to underscore this. As entrepreneurs, you have to be ethical. When we started Ace Foods, we were faced with a challenge. So many of our competitors, instead of selling chili pepper, they were selling maize, and they put Sudan red to dye it red. And Sudan Red is carcinogenic. And we're challenged because they were making 200% margin. We're making 20% margin. And the question was, can I eat my product? If I can't eat it, why should I sell it? The only thing I have in my kitchen is Ace Foods. So being ethical has now won us tremendous support. Now we supply to Unilever. We export to South Africa. We export to Germany because people know that we're ethical and they can trust us. Are you humble? Are you a lifelong learner? Are you disciplined with your time, your resources, and your credibility? What is your say-do ratio? When you say, do you do? And are you a lifelong learner? I talked about writing a book. Why would I go through the pain of writing my first book, this book, Social Innovation, Reaching Millions with Impact, and then writing this one, Food Entrepreneurs in Africa? It's been painful, but it's because I have to learn. I have to keep pushing myself to learn and grow. So as I round up, we must ask ourselves, what legacy are we living and what legacy are we leaving for our children, for our businesses, for our companies, our community, for our world? And the final quote is the quote that we used to end the Harvard speech. I was asking my dad, what quote is reflective of this time? And he told me there's an Igbo proverb that says, Mbelede kaja madike. During the times of difficulty, that we get to sift out who is resilient, who is resourceful, and who's brave. Faith alumni, you are resilient, you are resourceful, and you are brave. And this is the time for you to shine. This is the time for a disaster to showcase who you are. So go from survival mode to where you're thriving to legacy mode. And the final quote is the mantra that I had in 2020 and 2019. And it's from this prayer, the Serenity Prayer. And this young person speaking to an African president said, as generation is different. We're no longer asking God for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change. We're asking the Almighty to give us the courage to change the things we cannot accept. Entrepreneurs, Faith Foundation, we have to strive for excellence. We have to build businesses that will outlive us. And we cannot accept that COVID-19 is going to cripple us. We cannot accept that our country is a failed state and that we're the poverty capital of the world. We have to transform that narrative. We have to create wealth for ourselves, for our families, for our employees, and for the country. I wish you tremendous success as you do it. And this quote from Grassa Michelle, 1 more minute. I love this quote. It says, our lives will only have meaning if each one of us can confidently say, I was able to bring 5, 10, 15, and 20 women and men along with me. What I'm saying is do not climb alone. As you achieve success, pull others up, pull other alumni, pull others up in your community. Let's leave a legacy for these future generations, our children, our grandchildren, that Nigeria will be better because we lived. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful presentation. That's wonderful. One of the things I'm taking home from this is that crisis is an advantage. It's not the way you see it is how you conquer. So I want to say thank you. We're going to have the Q&A session, and I'll bring it up in the next few minutes, Oluwatoyin Onigbanjo. As she's getting ready, I just want to remind us that the Q&A session, questions won't be answered if you post them at the Q&A session. And when you post, please wait, we'll pick them one after the other. I also want to remind you, I'm still Ndidi Okonkwo, also known as NG, your host for today. One of the key things I'm taking from this is that board members matter. And Ndidi, I love what you said as you were ending up. You said something quite fantastic, your support system. And for me, support system is crucial in these crisis situations we're going through. And Faith Foundation is a support system for our business, and especially for we entrepreneurs here. Let's maximize and utilize here. I will be inviting Toyin Onigbanjo again. She's an award-winning child nutrition advocate, kids chef, author and founder of Augustsecrets, a child nutrition company based in Nigeria. Please welcome Oluwatoyin. Over to you, Toyin.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I am so excited and honored to be here this afternoon. I really appreciate Faith Foundation for this opportunity. And then I also appreciate Mrs. Ndidi Okonkwo, a woman that I've admired for so long a time from afar, and we're really learning from as young entrepreneurs. In fact, today has been, so excellent because I, took down a lot of notes, and especially a food entrepreneur myself. I used to be a journalist. My story is quite interesting. I used to be a journalist, and I started to make food for my son from the kitchen, and then today we're looking to scale. So I've really learned a lot from this session, and I believe that quite a number of entrepreneurs, like me, have also learned, from the session. So I am going to be looking out for our questions. Before I go ask mine, if you don't ask questions, I'm going to just go straight and take the opportunity to ask my own questions. So I'll be looking forward to, the questions. But first, I just want to reiterate some of the points that was made. The top 6, urgent needs for new business models amongst entrepreneurs, and the fact that we need to be demand-driven, to leverage data and technology, to also join in the shaping the ecosystem of whatever industry that you're in, and then of course, creating cost-efficient and the right structure, which leads us to corporate governance. And I'm seeing a question around that already. And of course, simple but compelling branding, being able to push out, being able to market your products in the right way, and then of course adapting to change. So, and then I have a key point here with me that COVID-19 is just one of the changes to come. There are so many other changes, such as environmental changes, economic factors, and so many others. So I'm going to ask the first question, which I would have also asked myself. And the question is, Mrs. Ndidi talked about having board members, which is very important, in terms of scaling up your business from the survival mode, thriving mode, and also, going ahead. So how can a startup have board members? That's the first question. How can a startup, have board members? How can we start? What are the things we should look out for? Should we just look ahead to maybe, I don't know, friends and family, or should we have like a list of profile? And then how do we also approach, people to come be board members? What are the things to look out for?
Thank you very much for the question and for your kind remarks. The first thing is we all have networks. We have personal, professional, and extracurricular networks. We have to map them out. At Leap Africa, we have a session on networking where we make you map out your networks. If you map out your networks, you realize how many people could possibly serve on your board. But I always tell people, don't start with just friends and family. You need to have 5 key people on your board. You need to have a finance/accounting person, not your accountant who you're paying, but someone who understands finance and accounting. You need to have a lawyer, not the lawyer you're paying to incorporate your company, but a lawyer who can come in and provide that legal mindset. You need to have a subject matter expert. So Tony, you're in food, I'm in food. When we started, I didn't study food technology, I didn't study microbiology. I knew we needed that gap. We had that gap in our board. So we appointed 2 entrepreneurs who had a background in food technology and microbiology to serve. One of them works very closely with Faith, Professor Ogunmoyela. He currently sits on the board of Ace Foods. And that's an example of someone who was filling that gap. You also need a marketing and branding expert. I talked about telling your story and packaging yourself. You definitely need a marketing and branding expert. And finally, you need someone who is either strong in HR or strategy. Now, if you have any of those skills yourself, you don't need to fill that gap. But if you don't have those skills, you need to fill that gap. I would always tell entrepreneurs, start with 5 to 7 board members. From the day I have an idea, I start with a board and write them a formal letter. Give them an invitation to serve with clear stipulations about the term. So I usually advise 3 years renewable for a second term. Not everybody has to stay on. And then I have a stipulation, at least 4 meetings a year. And you as the entrepreneur have to prepare for those meetings. But in the letter, I say, I can't pay you For the first 3 or 4 years, I can't pay you sitting fees. I can't pay you annual fees because I'm a startup. But as our business grows, we'll be able to pay you something. And you'll be amazed. If you take yourself seriously, people will take you seriously. And every time you want to give up, your board will hold you accountable. They will strengthen you. They will push you to keep going. Please get the book, Get on Board. It's Leap Africa's book. I highly recommend it. And please also get my book, Reaching Millions with Impact. And I'll type in the email addresses for where you can get those books. I think there was a question about Nourishing Africa. The website is www.nourishingafrica.com. Please go and upload your profile. Tony, I hope you're already on Nourishing Africa. If you're not, you're missing out. Please get on Nourishing Africa. And all the entrepreneurs, if you're a chef, if you're a caterer, if you have a restaurant, if you're whatever aspect of the agriculture value chain you're on, please get on nourishingafrica.com.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. I am already a member of Nourishing Africa, and I was just about to mention that to the people who were asking the question. So as a matter of fact, Nourishing Africa just did a profile about Augustsecrets. And I would say that I was so excited because I learned a lot from Nourishing Africa. I'm a proud member. We get lots of opportunities from Nourishing Africa. I have also gotten to meet other entrepreneurs that we can learn from. And then, so it's been so amazing an opportunity. And I would encourage everyone to, be a member. Even if you're not in the agri sector, maybe you have a friend or a family member, please join Nourishing Africa. I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. I'm looking forward to our feature on Nourishing Africa, just talking about the things that we've learned in terms of scaling our business, from the agri and, the food processing point of view. And, something that, is very, very important that you mentioned, that really touched me a lot about taking our businesses from like building ourselves as the entrepreneurs, not just complaining about the situation. You talked about humility, you talked about being a lifelong learner, you talked about, being disciplined with your time. These are issues that, like we sometimes put them as like the back burner. We just say, what, let me just go and hustle, let me just go and, so what are the tips that you can give for, working on yourself? Like, what are the steps that, entrepreneurs can take, just talking about that, because I understand this a lot. I used to be a journalist and now I work in the food processing. It took me a lot of discipline, a lot of mistakes, lots of errors. I walked into a factory and I was like, what's all this? We didn't understand. There was what we learned at Faith Foundation about good manufacturing practices. I had to go learn that. I didn't understand. So for those of us who didn't grow into the agri sector, what are the things we should look out for? What are the qualities we should look out for? And then I'll go to the next question.
Thank you so much, Tony. We're all work in progress. I remember when I was 25 years old running Faith Foundation, I was such a difficult boss. And one day I asked my staff to give me feedback, and I asked them to put it on a piece of paper because, they used to ask me, when do we close? And I'll tell them, I don't know, what is closing? I don't know what do you mean close? So I had all this, I was 25, I asked them to write things that I could do to improve and then put it in a secretly into a bowl. I had to leave the room to go and cry after I read what they wrote, because I realized how important managing people are. We want excellence and we have very high standards, but you can't achieve success alone. So one of my biggest lessons, and that's why I said all of you have to go home and ask 2 people, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? One of my biggest tips is that I always ask my staff for feedback. When I'm doing their evaluations, they also evaluate me. They have a section where they evaluate me. They have to write my evaluation. And they have to evaluate my passion, how good I am at managing them. And each day I'm getting better, right? Because I hear the feedback. And that's why I told you, Tony, feedback from your customers. Yeah. Some of you complain about difficult customers. Your difficult customers are your best teachers. Your difficult suppliers are your best teachers. Your difficult staff are your best teachers. Not everything they tell you is going to be accepted, but you always have to say there's a lesson here, there's a lesson here, there's a lesson here. There's a quote I love, it's a Tibetan quote, and it says, if I tell you my dream, you might believe it. If I show you my dream, you might admire it. But if I involve you in my dream, it becomes your dream too. Tony, I don't run Ace Foods day to day. I've been to Ace Foods 3 times or 4 times this year, but the organization is running. I've been to Leap Africa twice this year for board meetings. They're running effectively and efficiently. Why? Because I involved other people in my dream and it became their dreams too. I've only been to our Abuja office 3 times this year. It's fully operational. It's because of systems and structures, but it's also because I involve other people in my dream and I give them the credit and I give them the responsibility. And if you do that, it's like magic. But many of us struggle. We struggle with that. We struggle with it. And then the final thing I'll say, Tony, is this thing about personal discipline. How do you use your time as an entrepreneur? People who know me will tell you that I don't have time to waste, right? If I say something, I'm going to do it. I'll do it. But it means how you use your money, how you use your 24 hours in a day. How much time do you spend on social media? Who is in your circle? Who are your friends? Who are your mentors? By your friends, you know people, right? You have to have a support network. And this is for women especially. Women, I have sisters, biological sisters, spiritual sisters who help me every day with my children, with my home, with my work, who lifts me up and hold me up, because it's very hard to be a successful woman in Africa, in Nigeria. And if you don't have those ecosystems of support, you will struggle. So have that, build it. The way you build your business, you're building your support network. So you have people who hold you up, and that helps you surmount obstacles in ways that you cannot imagine. I think we're out of time though. Tony, I think we're out of time. I'm sure you guys are ready for your next speaker. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure engaging.
Like I said again,
you still have a little time.
Oh, I have a little time. Okay, good.
Yeah, an engaging session. Just so.
How much time do we have? Sorry.
I'm almost like awestruck right now. So, but I've written a lot down, and I believe.
Okay, 20 minutes. Okay, great. Yes. Okay, great. So let me take this question about boards, because there are quite a few Q&A questions.
We're not out of time yet. Okay.
Okay. Tony, let me take this question about boards. Question. Sorry, go ahead. There's a delay. Go ahead, Tony.
I think she's having a little network issue. Let me go in. Let me ask a question here while she comes back. Okay. She's back. Okay, she's back. Okay.
So I found an interesting question. Just before our time is up, I want to ask. Someone is asking, would you recommend mergers for SMEs? Like if you find just like what you mentioned about, pivoting into maybe you find something another interesting area of need for customers. Can you make more meaningful, a more scalable business, or build a more scalable company? What would you advise, even if you have ideas?
I definitely would advocate mergers and acquisitions at this time. This is actually a really good time to think about it. There's no need to have a very small business in a very small sector. I'll give you an example. There's a company in Kenya that was called Mom's Village, and a company in Nigeria called Baby Bliss. And they just decided to merge. And I was so excited to see that, because now they have an Africa-wide platform. So I think it's a really good time for us entrepreneurs to see who else is doing what we're doing and how can we work with them. And I also just recently saw that Tara has partnered with Studio 24. I'm sure some of you saw that as well. There's no point Studio 24 having, a makeup corner where they're hiring makeup artists when they could partner with House of Tara. The same applies to our companies. In all of the companies that I work in, we're definitely expanding our reach through partnerships, engaging with others, and we're even considering mergers and acquisitions. So it's always important to look outside and see what is changing, who can do it better, who should you be working with, and how can you leverage your impact. With Nourishing Africa, we're partnering with other companies across Africa because we're not going to have offices across Africa. We're finding other people who could be our partners in other African countries. The same with Sahel Consulting. We have partners in all the West African countries we work in. And some of them, they're project specific. When we get a project, we bring people together to do it together. But others are long-term partnerships, and I would definitely advocate that. And so if I may, I want to address this question that has been raised about sole proprietorship having boards. I'm not talking about boards just for statutory purposes. I'm talking about boards because you need them. How many of you feel lonely and tired running your companies? How many of you feel overwhelmed sometimes? I would tell you that if we didn't have a board, we would have closed Leap Africa, we would have closed Sahel, we would have closed Ace Foods. Every time we wanted to give up, it was our board telling us, don't give up. You can do it. Keep pushing. In fact, 5 years into Ace Foods, one of our board members said, are you guys still in pilot stage? When are you going to start growing? That was a challenge. We thought we were doing quite well. And he finished us. He said, you guys are still pilots. You haven't started your business. And that challenged us in ways we couldn't imagine. Our board members, like Professor Moyela, they play surprise visits to the factory. They go and surprise the staff. One of our board members is based in America. She audits factories. Tony, she came to a factory with a torchlight. Do you know what torchlight is? She looked in places that nobody had ever looked. Then she wrote her audits. She did an audit. She didn't tell the board she was coming to Nigeria. She didn't tell the staff. That was such a gift for us, right? So now the staff are like, any day now, this woman can come. So let's be ready. It can be a surprise visit. This is not NAFDAC. This is your board member who cares about your success, who uses your product, who wants you to succeed. So having that type of ownership and support from people who don't even have equity is just an amazing thing. And it just gives me so much joy and confidence that if something happens to me today, the company will continue. Some of you know that my husband was shot in 2007 and we had to leave the country very suddenly. We were out of Nigeria for 2.5 years and LEAP continued. Why did LEAP continue? Because one of our board members, Dr. Denloye, stepped in and started coming to the company 3 days a week. Mosula Yode was now promoted to executive director. LEAP would have died if we didn't have a board. Let me tell you, LEAP would have died. Today, LEAP works in 6 African countries. It's making a difference because our board kept it going. And who's our chair today? Udeme Ofort. Fabian Ajogu has been our chair. Dr. Nadu Deloye has been our chair. We've had phenomenal board members. Namido Sanusi was on our board. This is an organization that's bigger than me. If I'm alive or dead today, LEAP will continue. That gives me joy. That gives me hope. And that's what you want to build. You want your companies to die? If something happens to you, all this blood, sweat, and tears, what about your children? What about your customers? What about your employees? Commit to building a board of directors because it makes sense, because it helps you, because it's critical to your success. It's not about whether it's required. It's because you need it. So if I can't convince you, I don't know who else can, because I'm a living, walking testimony of the power of boards, strong and effective boards of directors.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to digress a bit into the released from Faith Foundation. I was also a part of the contributors to the data. Our business. So about 42%. The effect of COVID from the record here indicates that about 94.3% of SMEs were affected, and then 42.3% complained about cash flow. So, and a lot of entrepreneurs complain about cash flow as well, credit and all that. So how can we mitigate against this? cash flow issues.
Yeah, so one of the important things for every entrepreneur is to have diversified customer base. You have to have a diversified customer base. So Ace Foods has retail. So we sell products in ShopRite, Spar, that's retail. We also have institutional customers. Those are the Unilevers of the world, right? The flour mills of the world who buy in bulk. And then we have exports. And having this diversified customer base is so critical because when one customer is struggling, another customer is growing. You don't see growth across all three platforms at the same time. So have a diversified customer base. The second is manage your receivables. You know, many of us in agriculture, I'm sure Tony knows, when you've sold your product, it's very difficult to get your money. People have finished using your product, they don't want to pay you, especially when you're in the retail channels. And so how do you manage receivables? The bigger you get, the more you can command the ability to manage receivables, to say, no, it has to be 15 days or you have to pay up front. And that's why it's good to have a diversified customer base because some people can pay up front, some people want to pay 60 days. Manage your receivables, cash is king. And then manage your payables. The same way people owe you money, you can owe others, your suppliers, your packaging distributor providers, and negotiate that so that you have what we call trade credit. And beyond managing that account, receivables, payables, and your customer base, you have to figure out how to utilize cash, how to store cash. Right now, with the depreciation of the Naira, it's important to store in foreign currency. How are you, if you have excess liquidity, are you storing it in dollars? Are you storing it in pounds? Are you thinking about ways to manage your currency exposure and your currency risk? This is really, really important. And the final thing I'll say is you have to diversify your funding pools. And that's why I come back to Nourishing Africa. Ace Foods is able to get quite a few grants. So we're a profitable business, but we get grants. We get grants from the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund. We get grants from West Africa Food Markets, Innovations Against Poverty. And these grants help us deliver our supply chain, work with farmers, train farmers so we can get high quality ginger and soya beans and maize for our. Do you have grants? Grants will help you during this period. And guess what? There's so many grants right now during COVID-19. Go on nourishingafrica.com, search for Nigeria. You see all the grants. I'm sure Tony has seen them. And let's help you apply for those grants. And we're going to be starting a new grant program for our members to give grants to entrepreneurs who have been struggling during COVID-19 and who want to pivot. But I'm not just saying Nourishing Africa, so many other platforms. I'm sure Faith Foundation has introduced you to so many grant pools as well during this period. So this is the good time to get grants for your business to help manage your cash flow.
Okay, I think given to the last here, another interesting question is how can we, which I am also interested in, how can we formulate or suggest policies to the government? I mean, maybe on industry basis now. But I think that I needed to mention this. You mentioned about writing, getting involved in podcasts, writing about issues, around, I mean, that pertain to your industry or sub-industry. So what are the other ways that, we can suggest policies to the government? I mean, just kind of like, how can we get involved in policy formulation and getting the government to take notes of some issues in our industry?
So right now we're actually developing Vision 2050 for Nigeria. I don't know how many of you know that. We're doing Vision 2050. We're doing the Medium-Term Development Plan 2025 and 2030. So there are technical working groups that have been set up by the Ministry of Planning, National Planning, which I'm sure Adenike is aware of, and would love to get as many of you involved in shaping the policies for 2025, 2030, and 2050. I am the coordinator for the one on food security, agriculture, and rural development. And every other day, I'm getting entrepreneurs to come and tell us what we should do. I believe we have to, and maybe Adenike, you can organize a session for the alumni to actually give feedback into the national development plans right now, because this will shape not only the short term, but the long term of our country. And I'll talk to Adenike about how to do that. The second one is through NESG, Nigerian Economic Summit. When I was 25 running Faith, I got involved in NESG. And I tell you, NESG would love to get as many entrepreneurs involved in the different ecosystems. If you're in fashion, if you're in food, you can get involved in shaping policy and writing policy for your ecosystem. I'll give you an example. The Nollywood Fund was created because entrepreneurs shaped policy. You can shape policy. You can get involved in shaping policy. So let's go through NESG and go through the TWGs, and I'll link. I'm sure Adenike is already on one of the TWGs, but if you're not, I'm happy to connect you to make sure that all the entrepreneurs' ideas and voices get captured.
Last from one again is actually, thank you very much for this. I'm particularly interested in the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. I used to work with them when I used to write articles for them when I used to write as a journalist. But the good thing about us is once a journalist is always a journalist, you can always write and you can always, take, lessons from whatever job you were doing before into what you do now currently. So that's very interesting. And that's also very impactful as well. So someone is asking another interesting one. What mistakes did you make in your journey and how did you surmount them?
Okay, thank you. And I think this will be the last question because we had 15 minutes. So many of you have heard this story. When we started Ace Foods, our first product was going to be jams. Because I love pineapple jam, papaya jam, agbalumo jam, bisap jam, zobo jam. And I saw it in Senegal where we used to live when my husband got shot and we had to leave the country. And I won a business plan competition. Ace Foods won a business plan competition, $100,000, which we matched to start this company. And our products were going to be jams, pepper sauces, and baby food, pureed baby food, like carrots, sweet potato mix, etc. And guess what? We started with jams. The first thing we realized is that the average Nigerian does not eat jam. My own friends and family eat jam, but the average Nigerian doesn't. And if we wanted a company that was demand-driven and a business that would reach millions, jam was not going to be it. The Nigerians who ate jam told us they wanted red jam, strawberry jam. And we grow strawberries in Plateau State, very small section of Plateau State. So where are we going to get strawberry jam? So we decided, okay, we can surmount this. We came up with a formulation for a mixed fruit jam, which we dyed red. We put red coloring. So watermelon, citrus. Then we found out most fruits are not available all year round. So what type of jam can you make? So we created a formulation, mixed fruit. Then the sugar price went up from 6,000 naira a bag for 50 kg sugar to 12,000 naira a bag, because obviously we have a monopoly in sugar. So our business model changed. The cost of producing jams became very expensive. And the final thing was we couldn't find glass. We started going to dump sites to get recycled glass. And very soon we had exhausted all the recycled glass in Nigeria. We went to Beta Glass. They said, if you want to place an order, it has to be 2 million bottles minimum, because we have orders from Nigerian breweries and NBC for the next 3 years. And we couldn't pay for 2 million jars when we were just starting. We bought all this equipment to make jam. And today we don't make jam. Today we don't make pepper sauces. Today we don't make peanut butter. In fact, we have this new peanut butter company. Every time I see Nutsi, I'm so sad because we started peanut butter. We got a NAFDAC number for mixed fruit jam and peanut butter, but today we don't produce it. And it was very disappointing because we had done all this branding for jam and won a competition. And we had to pivot to our year 3 strategy, which was spices. And in retrospect, it was a great learning experience. It was a great learning experience because obviously we had written a nice business plan, but we hadn't really thought through how things could change, what shocks to the system, the limits to the system, the limits to packaging, and what the consumer really wanted and what the consumer was going to pay for. Of course, people would pay for pineapple jam and agbalumo jam, but it will only be a small percentage of Nigerians, maybe 0.05%, to pay for real fruits in jams, because most jams that you buy in Nigeria don't have any fruits. It's just flavored water and sugar imported from China or somewhere else. And we wanted to produce fruits from the best of West Africa's fruits and vegetables, nutritious food. And we didn't want to deviate from our mission and vision. So we had to pivot. And today, I mean, we're very happy that we're thriving, but it was a very difficult first year. And Many times we wanted to give up. So that's one lesson. And I tell you, I remember that lesson every single day. The last thing I'll say is another story. When we started, our company brand was going to be Honor. Honor means jewel in Igbo. And we applied for trademarks. And I hope all of you have trademarks for your products. And we got the trademark registry approving Honor. Our company name was going to be Ace Foods. Brand name was going to be Honor. Then we got a letter from a big law firm in Nigeria saying, we're going to sue you. You cannot use Honor as your brand name. We're like, why? They said, because we represent a company that has a product, Onga. And we're like, Onga is different from Honor. And that's why it's good to have a board. We went to our board. We said, we can fight this. There's a big difference between Honor and Onga. The colors are different. Why can they sue us? Why would they sue us? And guess what? In the end, our board said, you guys don't have 6 months to waste. You don't have money to pay for legal fees. Just go with Ace Foods. You already have that brand name. And the beauty of it all is that in the end, that company that was suing us became one of our biggest early customers. And we ended up sticking with Ace. And so have a board, have a trademark, pick your battles as an entrepreneur. Not every battle is worth fighting for. Pick your battles. And in the end, be ready to pivot. When the market tells you that your product or service will not meet the needs, be ready to pivot. With humility, every experience is a learning experience. It's really been a pleasure spending time with you today. And I wish you the very best. Congratulations again, Faith, on your 20th anniversary. I am so proud of the Faith team. I'm so proud of the founder and the board. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Okay, this was a very insightful Q&A. Do you all agree with me? I hope you can all hear me, right? She delivered, she shared, and I think I'm going prepared for a new season in my life. I hope you are too. We're about to introduce and welcome a special guest, but before then, the president will be coming up. Good. Over to you, sir.
Wow, fantastic. I tried to tell you, I tried to warn you guys. We've been on social media, tweeting, sending WhatsApp display pictures, messages, saying, look, this is going to be awesome. And I'm happy to say that it has been completely awesome. I'm taking notes. Look, and I'm taking notes. I've got 3 different pens, a pencil, a black pen, and a red pen. I'm prepared. I'm not going to leave this 2 days without getting the insights that I need. And I hope that you two are doing the same. I want to thank you very, very much on behalf of the whole alumni community. You've been fantastic. You've lived up and exceeded our expectations. Our pioneer ED, Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli, thank you very much. And the moderator, Toyin, well handled. You know, as entrepreneurs, there are always challenges. We know there are always challenges. Wi-Fi breaks, power outages, but you know, the testament that success is possible in this climate is basically what we can see in Ndidi's life, right? And that's it. And that's what I'd like everyone here to emulate. So thank you very much. Once again, on behalf of all the alumni community, we wish you all the best, and we shall be picking up copies of your book. Madam Toyin, thank you very much. 2 very, very, very powerful ladies. Thank you all very much. At this point, I would like to hand back over to our current ED, who's going to come in to speak. Madam Adenike, over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you once again, everyone. Like the president said, I mean, Ndidi is one of us, and she has set the bar for the conversations today. And I think one of the things that is always interesting about conversations like this is that sometimes we think that we're all alone in our problems and in our challenges. And then when we hear experiences from other people, we realize that, do you know what? If we continue to keep our focus, if we learn from our lessons and from our experience, and I like how she rounded up by talking and sharing my experiences, her insights, and even just our own learnings with Ace Foods and how they've had to revisit some of the products that they've launched into the market and the experiences from that. I really like the emphasis again on corporate governance and structure, you know, and we've said in all our classes, we say AAP, EAP, ScaleUp Lab, structure, whether or not you're set up as an enterprise, as a company limited, however you are set up, we need to always make sure that we have a board. So even if you can't start with formalizing a board, always get an advisory board. From when that idea starts to permeate in your mind and you see the potential and you see the potential you see the potential that that business idea can bring, it's very important to ensure that we have that we bring in people who are able to share their knowledge, share their insights with us to help us shape our thoughts, shape our thinking in terms of the business that we're doing. And so it's a FATE conference that was started that was planned by FATE Foundation with the FATE Alumni Executive Committee. And so we're going to move in shortly to a very special guest speaker. But I would like to, first of all, run a very quick poll to show where we're joining from. So please just very, 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 very quickly. There's a poll right in front of you. Let's know where we're all coming from. 78% from Lagos, 18% from outside Lagos, about 5% from outside of Nigeria. Wow. Okay, great. So you're welcome. You're welcome. It's good to see the representation. And I mean, we can see that quite a lot of us are from Lagos. At least 70% of us are from Lagos. So our next special guest speaker would really appreciate seeing that 70% of the participants are from Lagos. Thank you. So to introduce our special guest of honor, I am very delighted and very honored to welcome the person who took the idea of supporting and enabling aspiring and emerging young Nigerian entrepreneurs to be able to start, grow, and scale their businesses, who took this idea in 2000. The idea came before 2000, but he launched this idea in 2000 to this organization that has this platform with alumni members spread across Nigeria, and who is our founder, who is the chairman of our board of directors, and who continues to inspire me, inspire the entrepreneurs in so many ways every day. Please, in our chat section, can you do me the honors of saying a warm, loud, virtual welcome? I know we have our mics muted to Mr. Fola Adeola, the founder and the chairman of FATE Foundation. Please let's welcome Mr. Fola Adeola. Mr. Fola Adeola, please over to you, sir. Please kindly unmute your microphone and your video, and I'm handing over to you to please introduce our special guest of honor. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Adenike. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. My task is simple, to introduce somebody that I am very pleased with, the governor of Lagos State. I asked myself, how do I introduce Governor Sanwo-olu? In a book that I read many years ago, the author said the book was dedicated to his professor. And how did he introduce his professor? He said, for those who know him, no words are necessary. For those who don't know him, no words will be sufficient. And I had that temptation to just say, meet Governor Sanwo-olu and lead the platform. But I thought that for those who know him and for those who don't know him, I need to say some words. Number one, I want to express my sense of appreciation to him, that despite his very, 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 very busy schedule, he has found the time to honor a very small foundation like ours, we will not forget this. Thank you. I also want to let the governor know that as far as Lagos State is concerned, any time and every time that we have called, they have said yes, and they have been present. Up until last year, when we had His Excellency, his deputy, to honor this platform as well. Thank you, Lagos State. Thank you, Governor Sanwo-olu. Maybe it's not accidental. Maybe they know what we also know, that we have graduated over 6,000 people through our several programs. And 6,000, 80% of those 6,000 have come from Governor Sanwo-olu's state. I know his passion to get people employed. I know of his passion to get people busy. And if there's an organization that has supported him by easing that task by producing 80% of 6,000, that is where he would like to be, and that's where he is this morning. We want to acknowledge the state's effort supporting SMEs, particularly through initiatives like the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. We thank you, Governor Sanwo-olu. The theme of our conference, of the Alumni Conference, is resilience. And we look forward to your speech about the leading state to build less resilience, particularly at this time. I also want to commend your effort at keeping us healthy through so many things that you've done as a government and your involvement personally as an individual, driving. They don't call him governor when it comes to COVID. They call him incident commander. And you have, like incident commanders have behaved, you have led the command. We thank you for keeping us healthy. Without much further ado, I'd like to hand over to His Excellency, should I say my friend, my brother, but somebody I'm delighted in, Governor Babajide Sanwo-olu. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adenike. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning, Ebon. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
That means I can be heard, because with this technology, you need to be sure that they can hear you and you can hear them. So I've heard you very, very well. So good morning, our great alumni. First, let me say, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Okay, let me say how truly delighted and appreciate that you can call me on this morning. Let me tell you what had happened in the last 12 hours or 24 hours actually of my time, right? So yesterday, just to give a typical day's story, yesterday it was back to back on youth graduation, was on entrepreneurship, was on micro, small, medium enterprise events, and I will speak in details as into how all of that turned out. But overnight, I needed to make a quick trip to Abuja, right? And I had to come back to Lagos very early this morning. And of course, when it rains in Lagos, it's another conversation. So, but I needed to get into another event at 10 o'clock. So this is the second engagement that I'm having this morning, but I'm truly, truly excited and I'm humbled that my Egon, my advisor, my mentor, and my very strong critique as well, Mr. Foladiola, has done me the honor of introducing me with all sense of humility I want to say that I'm a small player compared to the very many oceans and very many journeys that you have had to traverse and you have overcome. You continue to lead us and you continue to encourage all of us that are coming behind, you. I want to thank you. I want to thank the over 6,000 graduates that your foundation over the years, have churned out. You've churned out real leaders that indeed, not only are you proud of, some of us are indeed proud of. I'm looking at the deliberation of today, I could see one or two of my own appointees in Lagos State also speaking, at this engagement. And so it goes to say that, what you have baked for us, what you have helped us develop, the government of Lagos, I've continued to see the benefits that we can utilize, for them. But today is really about the alumni and the fresh ones that are coming out of the block and what we need to say, to encourage them. And you've chosen a very apt and right, theme for this year's conference, which is resilience. How resilient, indeed, can we be as an individual, as a state, as a nation. And let me start by expressing, and telling you a bit of my own personal story, just so that we put it in context and you also know that what all of you have gone through and have had to be dealing with, some of us too have attempted it, some didn't make a good success of it, but it's also worth also mentioning. About 35 years ago, 33, 34 years, when I was 22, 23, I also set up, a company called Dale Plumber, right? And from the name, it was like you needed to get a plumber, and in the 80s and early 90s, plumbers, electricians are not things that are easily or readily available. So you needed to, look around and ask your neighbor and your next neighbor's neighbor, before you know, or you can get a nice or a good or a competent plumber, right? So we set up a company called Dale Plumber. But the critical success of that company is the word Dale, meaning that for you to be able to reach that plumber, you need to have a telephone, and you need to have access to a telephone for you to be able to call a plumber, right? And so whilst we got the plumbers, whilst the plumbers are all in their dungarees, whilst the plumbers have their tools to go out to work and to go out and deliver the service, what needed to trigger that activity was in short supply, which is telephone lines. So we went into a business in which we're relying on another person that will provide a critical resource for us for that business to thrive. Nnaeto, of blessed memory, with all due respect to everybody that has worked there, to some of our fathers and seniors, of all blessed memory, at that time was certainly not at their best, were not at their best effort. At that time, we had five numbers. It was not like 11 numbers you have as GSM these days. They're just 5 numbers, 466 972, 5 or 6 numbers. And so the critical component that can make that business survive was that each time you pick your phone to dial, you must have a ringing tone. So a dial tone for you to dial, and it must get to the plumbing company, right? So we would wait. We will be hoping that the phones will ring, but the phones will never ring because it's either when it rings, water has entered the cable, and so there are no network again, because all the cables at that time were there had to be physical cables being drawn to the various houses. So there were never phones coming in. So after about 6 months, nobody had to tell us that a critical support that we needed for that business to thrive was not available. So we didn't make a good closure of it. So Dale Plumber died, unfortunately. And so that was how my entrepreneurial zeal and my reasoning for wanting to provide a service in my 20s, in my mid-20s, an engineering solution. That was how, telephones in Nigeria at that time killed that initiative. So all of that has changed now. And 30, 35 years down the line, I'm sure some of my audience, some of them have 2 lines, 3 lines now, so it's not a problem any longer, right? So if you look at this, my story, you realize that it's either, right, I did not do a proper scoping to understand what is needed for the industry that I was getting myself involved. Yes, there was a gap. There were needs for plumbers, but maybe not in the way and manner in which we had fashioned out that company that they needed to call us, because we're actually being very fashionable and we're forward looking at that time. But unfortunately, that initiative or that business, died. But today, I can proudly say that there's been several learning, and there's been several great initiatives that our young people have done, are doing, and they will continue to do. And that's why an organization like Faith Foundation, over the last 2 decades or so that they've been doing this, they have continued to receive an A report. They've continued to receive an A team. And I'm indeed truly excited that Egbonfola, even in his retirement, but not tired, he still finds time to support and to help out our young ones. So talking about my yesterday's trip. So yesterday, we as in Lagos State, we graduated about 6,200 in one full sweep. People coming out from our skill acquisition center. So we have about 18 skill acquisition center. It's different from a hub. A hub is you're now like you are graduated, you needed an input for you to do a whole lot of other things. So we graduated them out of our 18 acquisition centers. We have 18 of them in all different parts of the state. And so they've gone through 9 months, minimum 9 months to a year and a half in different skills. There are about 14 different vocations, from hair making to soap making, to tie dyeing, to barbing, to tiling, to refrigerator and air conditioning, to all sorts. I mean, and the words that I left with them is a kind of the same encouragement that I'm still going to give, to our alumni today, and to most of the participants listening, to me. And before that event, I was also at another event where I was declaring open about 1,000 or thereabout MSMEs. And I know that most of you listening to me, a whole lot of you are in one form of MSMEs, engagement or the other. So these are, it was like a small fair where they all came together as part of our drive of reopening the economy gradually, right? So government needed to show the lead and bring about, that staying power for them to know that government understand that the past 7 months have been a difficult, challenging time for all of us, but we've gotten to a stage where we need to very quietly and very strategically begin to unlock the economy so that people can get back to work and they can begin to earn a living for themselves, and for their family. And so one of the things that I said to them, which I believe is still very relevant, is the resilience that you're talking about. And is also to talk about perseverance and persistence, right? Whilst, you need, to be resilient, to have that staying power, you need to also be able to persevere. Perseverance is the ability for you to know that, yes, I might fall several times, but each time that I fall, right, I need to get up again. Each time that I get a no for my product is not the end of my idea. It's not the end of my initiative. A no for my product is just for me to go back and look at that product again. A no for my service is for me to look back and say that, am I talking to the right audience? Am I hitting the right market? And we need to be persistent. Persistent is just for you to know that indeed, you must have different skills, you must have different ability to be able to still be able to reach out people. Maybe it's your branding, maybe it's your packaging, maybe it's the way in which you have communicated that has not reached out to that audience very well. You need to go back and rethink and retool, and stay resilient and stay persistent and persevere. So these are some of the things that I believe you need, especially for us as a nation, especially for us as a state coming out from a global pandemic. And I'll just talk a little bit about, our experience and our numbers, around the global pandemic. And that's why you need a very strong, resilient state like Lagos State, and the kind of things that we're about and we're doing, even for you to know and have the staying power, for your business. So when we started this year, we didn't have it anywhere that we'll be losing 7 months of the time to a global pandemic, So when we started this year, we didn't know that a budget that was supposed to be the biggest, first ever, largest budget in the history of Lagos State, that would be reducing the size of that budget 3 months into the year or 4 months into the year. We didn't know because we didn't have the crystal. But we had a team. We had a team that could very quickly react, and change dynamics and change, the parameters to fit into the reality that we found ourselves. So when the first case started end of February into March, and I made myself the incident commander, we had to set up what we call a war cabinet because we realized that a 42-man team would never be able to solve. So you needed a nimble team. And I was lucky that I put together a crack team of experts and professionals who could do the work for us. So we started by understanding and appreciating that this thing that is a global pandemic will reach and touch everyone. So we needed to quickly scale up our capacity in terms of our preparedness, as a state. How well can we retool our budget? How well can we ensure that we do things quicker, faster, and smarter? So in the course of the year, we're in September now, right? I would say that we've had to reduce our budget from the 1-point-something trillion that we thought it was very exciting. We had to reduce it by about 22% to fit into the reality of where we find ourselves. And I'm glad to inform you today, that we responded very well because we indeed on that track we're doing about 80% on our recurrent budget, and we're doing about 70% on our capital budget, to date in September. And we believe that, our response, to that reality that we find ourselves make us, be able to be true to ourselves and have a make-believe that this is the reality of where we find ourselves. That's one. Secondly, was that we needed to do things, in a different way. Because of all of the challenges around the health, we needed to pay more allowances for them. We needed to build more isolation centers. So we needed to push more money into health. In fact, indeed, we had actually allocated a lot more money in the year's budget for health and education, because as a government, we believe that we needed to show ourselves in our human capital index. That is one of the strong ways in which a government can help, its teeming population, especially a youthful population. Their future, their tomorrow is important for all of us. So human capital index, which is on health, education, is part of ensuring that the future generation have a hope, have a belief in governance. How well are we doing on education? How well are we providing health facilities for them? But even at that, when the pandemic came, we still needed to even do a bit more on the health side, especially around overhead expenditure and also capital expenditure in health. So we needed to also do 3 things very, very quickly. We needed to continue to communicate, we needed to continue to collaborate, and we needed to continue to coordinate. Coordination at state, at federal, coordination among states, amongst ourselves, coordination at various local governments. All that has to happen. We needed to communicate as the incident commander. We needed to know that we said to ourselves that we need to transparently tell our citizens on a weekly basis where the virus is going to, what are our challenges, what are the things that we need to do, and all of that. So that for us were some of the things that has held us, thus far. And so coming out of the pandemic gradually, what are the new things that we need to do? So we need to reflect and come up with another 3 sets of R's. How do we re-emerge the city? How do we re-engage the city, to be able to stay the course and know that even when future pandemics occur, how ready are we, and what are the lessons that we've learned to ensure that such things, do not occur again. So for me, I believe that what has happened in Lagos State is a clear demonstration of the strength of resilience that a government can very quickly be able to nibble, and look through and put on the table and deal with, right? So part of the things that I've also said is that even our expenditure, right? Are there expenditures we needed to immediately cut, if they are not important, if they are not necessary, trainings that people would needed to, to take outside of the country, outside of Lagos, all of those ones, we need to, close gap on it and say, everything has to be online now. It's quicker, it's shorter. Let's ensure that we get back to that. And so these are some of the things that we said to ourselves. And we also said to ourselves, our level of borrowing as a state, let's reduce our foreign borrowing, right? Our numbers are not bad. In fact, we're doing far less than international numbers. But we said to ourselves that even let's reprice even the kind of borrowing we have. Let's do only local borrowing, because local borrowing, we can very well gauge, what the interest rate will be, what the inflation rate will be, so that we don't expose ourselves, too much as a state. So these are some of the things that we have been doing to make Lagos, resilient and be able to tune, with all of the challenges. But we cannot just say that pandemic, or the issues around COVID are stories that our citizens will need to listen to. No, we gave our people an economic agenda, which were called project teams. So we said to ourselves, we still needed to stay focused on that economic agenda. How well are we going to be doing? Earlier in the year, we've seen direct foreign investment, about over $600 million coming to Lagos in the Lekki Seaport area. So we need to encourage them to ensure that they continue to do well. Lagos, we need to, given the history of the pandemic now, we need to know that we need to have more stronger food security component. So we're building the biggest rice mill in the country, which is at the Motai Korodu. It will be ready by first quarter next year. That rice mill will produce 2.4 million bags of 50 kg on a year-on-year basis. That is not even the news. The news is that the entire value chain, right, on that component will see about 200 to 250,000 employees, feeding around that rice mill. That for me is the greater news there, because we're using that mill as a source of employment generation for our citizens. We're taking our people out of poverty, as things happen down the line. We're also looking at what can we do with information technology. I'm here now on virtual, talking to over 300 of you or so. It will have cost, the foundation a lot more money if they had to rent a hotel, had to provide breakfast for all of us, and had to get all of us. But in the comfort of our offices and wherever we are, we can actually join. So it's cheaper and better for us. So as a government, what have we done? We have, even before the COVID, set up what we call, a metropolitan fiber connectivity. So we've started the first phase of it, which is a 3,000 fiber metropolitan fiber connectivity. If you go around the city, you see different colors of cables going underneath. So we're building dots, where the fibers can go into yellow, green, blue, purple, all parts of the city. So phase one of it is we're deploying 3,000. Is a PPP, model. We haven't raised the check, but we've collaborated with the private sector. And after the phase one, we'll do another phase two. The whole idea is to have the whole city of Lagos, meshed up with fiber connectivity, right? And that will enable each and every one of you listening to me, to have a stronger capability to be able to do a lot of things, work from home, work from, the places that you need to, stay, and reduce congestion on the road, reduce, your travel time if you don't need to. So this is a new normal that your government also, has bring about. So whilst that is going on, we're dropping, internet and fiber in all of our schools. We're dropping in all of our hospitals, in all our PHCs, in all public buildings. And so we can serve you better and quicker and smarter. For us, that's one of the ways in which we can help out this economy. We're also doing a smart city component on security. We're installing CCTV cameras so that we can manage traffic management better. We can check security on all the black spots, and all the very troublesome spots that we have in the city. And our police and law enforcement officers can do their work, better, smarter, and quicker, knowing fully well that they have a back room, a back end in which they can get information from. So these are some of the things beyond infrastructure that we're building. Out of this meeting now today, we're doing great things around, the real estate, business, where we're bringing some order, into the real estate space, where people that have been shortchanged, that have been, that have been either dealt with wrongly, we're trying to bring some order to that space. And we're doing a lot also in infrastructure. Today also I'll be commissioning some roads around Oniru and Victoria Land, about 6 new roads that we just built. So these are some of the things that we are doing, to make the city resilient. But back to my alumni and to all of you, what are the things that I see that you also can take advantage of? I'm aware that the federal government, given the new CAMA rules that they've just issued out, that you can still have your business name registration free of charge. Out of the new CAMA rule, they said 250,000 new business name registration, you will do it free of charge. So if you are there listening to me and you are still having the idea in your head, you don't know how you should do it, I think one of the very first steps is get it registered. It could be Jide Fola and Fola, it could be Jide, and whatever it is you have, put it together. I'm sure Faith Foundation have taught you how to put all of those things. Make sure that take advantage of the numbers that the federal government has done as part of ease of doing business company. Make sure you take up that opportunity and have it registered. Egbon has also mentioned the Lagos Employment Trust Fund. That is also something that is dear to our heart. The Lagos Employment Trust Fund, tomorrow, in fact, we're launching another 5 billion, support in the education sector using the Lagos Employment Trust Fund and with another bank. Tomorrow, 5 billion. That is one of our intervention strategies, to ensure that our small and medium businesses survive. So we've put a new board in the fund headed by a former and ex-banker herself, Mrs. Bola Adeshola. She's the chairperson of that board, right? And they're doing great things. So that fund is supposed to handhold all of you, and help you be able to have access to cheaper and quicker funds. I think they give people grants and they give people soft loans, up to 5-10 million. I don't know the exact numbers now, but we've said to them that coming out of the pandemic, they need to bend over backward and be able to assist a lot more businesses now more than ever before. So they are also available, and we're funding them. In fact, that's one of the agencies of government in this reduced budget that will actually increase their own budgets. So that's one of the agencies this year that even with the reduced budget, we have increased their own budget. So the Lagos Employment Trust Fund is one of the arm of government that can hold you, that can make your dream, reality in terms of funding, access, and also business case, to also help you with some documentation and be able to work with you and ensure that, you do better, you look stronger, So in conclusion, it's really to say that we as government cannot provide all of those employments. We as government can only be an enabler. At best, my civil servants or my public service has 150,000, 200,000, compared to a population of 20 million plus. So that means we're just scratching it. So we can indeed just be an enabler for the private sector, for all of you listening to me, to be the real change, to be the real growth in our economic space. So you need to take that responsibility. There are no white collar anywhere. It's your idea, is your initiative, is your gut feel that you have that in this new business, I want to go into. That's what we are meant to do, to give you that space, to give you that enablement for you to be able to thrive and for you to be able to, go ahead and set out your dreams and have it all put together. So I want to say to you that you're on the right path. The great things that Faith Foundation has enabled you with, has given you the strength and the capacity, use it and use it well. Not a lot of people have that opportunity. The network that the foundation has, the network that your alumni has, gives you that pool of resources that you can draw from, and you can have learning experience, shared experience, amongst your peers, and know that yes, things might appear difficult, things might appear rough, things might appear not that smooth as I've envisaged it in your short to medium term. Redo it again. Even in your short, redo it again. 6 months hasn't worked well. Look at it again and take it 12 months, and don't give up. You need to stay resilient. You need to stay on it fully. You need to persevere more. You need to stay very persistent, and these are some of the attributes that will make you successful at the end of the day. Each time you fall, know that is an opportunity for you to look forward again and get up again. Not to look back and say that, you know, I've been defeated. No, it's for you to take it up and know that, you know, yes, I'm at the half stumbled blocks, but I have my eye on the bigger picture. And so I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the board, the entire board of Faith Foundation for supporting us as a government. Like Ebon rightly said, who is a better beneficiary, right? 80% of the products that are coming out of the foundation are my citizens, are my subjects, are the people that I need to provide that great opportunity for. I cannot continue, I cannot thank you more. And you are using your own personal resources to do these great things for these young people, right? I can assure you that as a government, whilst we don't have all of the capability, I can assure you that my sincerity of heart is that I will make myself available, you know, at all times for you, you know, I mean, even out of here, whatever it is you want me to do, to be able to handhold you and give you that future that you truly all believe in. You know, this is your government. You know, I mean, my numbers are available, my emails are available, you know, challenge me, you know, reach out to me, correct us, tell us the things that you want us to do. And that's what we're here. That is the whole essence of governance. You know, and I want to commend all of you. I want to thank you. The chairman, I want to thank you. The executive secretary, I want to thank you for all the great work you're doing. And I want to just say that indeed, it's an honor to have been part of today's celebration and the topics that will be coming up. Thank you very much, and I yield the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now I understand why you have been able to accomplish all the things that you've done so far in Lagos. Dial Plumber. The failure of Dial Plumber has been critical. Most human lessons derive from failures. Hardly do we learn from success. When we are successful, we beat our chest. We are strong, you know, we did it. But when we fail, and we have that capability to look back, to review, why did we fail? And those lessons abide with us. Then in our next venture, we keep remembering them and eliminating them from that which we're doing. Thank you very much for encouraging our alumni. I also want to praise again your involvement in COVID-19. We can't underestimate it. This is not a state where we are finding dead bodies on the street. It happened in the First World, where they were using ice rings to freeze bodies pending burial. No, you didn't let that happen. But as an organization, towards our 20 years, we also decided that while for us, the giving through the foundation is philanthropy, we decided that we are going to expand our frontiers into human philanthropy, health, education, research, culture. Those are the 4 areas that we decided to focus on. Then COVID came. So health presented itself very, very rapidly. We were able to raise almost 400 million naira as an organization. And you might not be aware, our alumni have also participated. We have distributed to Lagos State government contactless hand washing equipment that were fabricated by Faith alumni, that we as Faith Foundation, Faith Philanthropy, acquire from them for Lagos State, for education, for bus stops, for all those things. And again, as we do things in faith, we channel them through your structure, because we know you have a structure in place. Not everything will be governor. So your commissioners are aware of this and they received it. And some of your hospitals also receive ventilators from us in the early days of the foundation of COVID. But more importantly, Your Excellency, I want to bring to your notice that last Friday, a research that was completely funded by Faith Foundation at the Nigerian Institute for Medical Research in Yaba came up with a test kit that can test 32 people and bring out the result in 1 hour. And it is CPR level. I'm sure at the right time, the Deputy Incident Commander or the Commissioner for Health Lagos State will let you know that.
I heard about it. I read about it. I read about it.
It was fully funded by Faith Foundation, and we are hoping that we will assist them to scale it up so that all this waiting for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours to get resolved will be eliminated. But more importantly, the impact on your own costing. It costs about $50 to test. Most people don't know that, and they expect that because of the pandemic, testing should be free. We hope that this will bring down that cost significantly. Those are the roles that we have played. But hey, we also thank you for tapping Bola Adeshola. Bola Adeshola, until recently, was a Faith director. And it is you, people like you tapping her, that deprived us of that benefit. But she's not lost to the country. I promise you that she will do an excellent job. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. We want to ask you to keep safe. We want to ask you to keep well, because it's only when you are healthy that you can continue to do all the things that you are doing. Thank you for coming.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adenike. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me step down to participants and leave the platform for those who own the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Faith Foundation Alumni Association, its EXCO, and everybody here today, I would like to extend a very big thank you to Mr. Governor, also to our chairman, Mr. Fola Adeola, for a wonderful session that we're having. We appreciate you, Mr. Governor. You are one of us because you have told us that you are an entrepreneur. So we look forward to welcoming you when you finish. Maybe you may come to Faith to join us. Mr. Governor, thank you very much. Mr. Fola Adeola, thank you very much. I would now like to hand over to Madam Jensek, NG. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was quite enlightening. And what comes to my mind, Ubuntu, I hope that's the right pronunciation. And Ubuntu is a word from Zulu that simply states, I am because you are. And that's what this conversation with the governor felt like. He was able to open up for us to actually understand what's going on in our environment. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Fola Adeola, for this too. God bless you. Thank you, Edie. Thank you, our president. So with no further ado, I'll be inviting another special guest speaker, no other than Dr. Nnaeto Orazulike. He is the founder and owner of Genesis Group Nigeria, a hospitality group which has been in existence for 25 years and is involved in contract catering, hotels, restaurants, cinemas and snack production, real estate development, oil and gas services. But before I usher him in, I want to remind you to please use your hashtags, Faith Conference, and tag Faith Foundation. Let's pull it traction. This shouldn't just be here. Let the world know what you're learning here today. So I will be inviting Mr. Dr. Nnaeto Orazulike. He will be speaking on strategies to navigate turbulent times. Over to you, sir. Dr. Nnaeto. I think he's coming in. While he's coming in, I want to just remind you, don't forget to, okay, he's here.
Okay, I
can't see you, sir.
Can you see me?
No, we can't see you, please.
I think the host blocked the video. If the host releases
oh, please release the video.
Then you'll be able to see me.
I hope we all are excited as they're unblocking. This is going to be strategies to navigate turbulent times. This is for me. Thank you, sir, for today, for honoring our invitation. Okay. Just give us a few minutes. You will be up now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, check if the background works. So good afternoon, start with Your Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Jide Sanwo-olu. Good afternoon, the founder of Faith Foundation and the management and the board of Faith Foundation, panelists, fellow panelists, and alumni and entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. First, thank you for having me on this, and I hope to be sharing life experiences. So, NG, it's just a little correction. It's about 30 years now. The Genesis Group was started in 1991, even though the idea was initially formulated in 1990 while I was doing my youth service in Lagos State. So I'm happy to be here today, an entrepreneur from inception. And I hope to share my experiences over the time with you, and that people will perhaps pick up one thing or the other from my journey over time, and perhaps apply it in their business towards the continued success of their business. So when I thought of resilience, you know, some of the things that came to my mind I will then discuss in detail slowly is one word: doggedness, and His Excellency talked a lot about it. Determination, discipline, focus, sustainability, patience. I also thought that resilience is a journey and it's not a destination. So it's something one would have started, you know, over time, with time, and it would usually help to see you through turbulent times. One of the things that I know for sure is that there will always be ups and downs. So, and I've experienced this a bit during my 30-year journey, and I therefore have tried over time to create, by the grace of God, strategies around managing those ups and downs. Some of the other things that come to my mind is that what works today may not work tomorrow. I also have diversification and growth in mind, and then I also have staying true to your brand promise in my mind. So I'll go through each and every one of them in a little bit of detail and tap into my journey and experiences over the last 30 years to buttress some of the conversations we're going to be having. So being dogged, you know, I started off the Genesis group, what it is now, and I enumerated quite a bit of what we do from a little restaurant in Enugu, right after my youth service in Lagos. And I had just about 6 tables that could sit only 24 people and a little staff of about 15 people. And only one of that staff was younger than me. At that time, I was 1991, I was 21 years old. And I pushed on. That's why doggedness comes to my mind. I pushed on, believing in a story, in a vision that I had in my mind, to provide a service in Enugu that I felt was not there. While studying my son's business studies, while I was doing his A-levels, I perhaps was able to link that my push to a business studies statement that said something like, a gap in the market, a market in the gap. I used the gap in the market for quality catering or restaurants in Enugu to start off my business. And I always identified at that time that there was a market in that gap. And I therefore exploited that market in the gap. I pushed on to ensure that, you know, I made success of it. A few years after that, practically about 3 years after, I sought for diversification and growth, which for me was an important aspect of staying resilient. I believe that if I stayed in Enugu for much longer, I would become a big fish in a small pond. And only with time, you know, I would start to die, perhaps. So as part of my sustainability, I pushed to expand the business and to grow the business as a way to remaining resilient and growing in that business. So I set out and went and looked at about 3 different cities that I felt would then, push me further. I went to Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. Abuja at that time, 1993, was still mainly government and didn't give me the promise of just growing the business the way I wanted it, which I didn't at that time require government intervention. I required just general people patronizing my restaurants. Lagos, I couldn't compete at that time. The bigger boys would not give me space to maneuver. And Port Harcourt, I found, again, a gap in the market that I could tap into. And from there, grow. And I settled for Port Harcourt. By 1994, we were able to open another restaurant in Port Harcourt. The restaurant in Port Harcourt, again, did well, and we were able to continue to grow the business. I subsequently went into industrial catering because of the need, again, that gap in the market in Port Harcourt, the need by the businesses in Port Harcourt, the oil companies, for catering in the areas where they are producing oil. And they subcontract that work out to others to do, and while they focus on their oil production. And we tapped into that and continued to grow from there. I also took over the family business, having proven myself in my own business, which is Orazulike Trading Company Limited, steel merchant. At some point, my father was doing, he's late now, he was a building materials merchant, made a success of it post-Civil War, and was quite large, supplying building materials, general building materials, to construction companies that were involved in the post-Civil War construction across Nigeria, from the southeast to south-south, to all the way to the north. And he did well at it. And as the first one, there was some responsibility that required me to take up that mantle and take on the challenges of maintaining that business. And I took that also as part of our diversification and continued growth, and it provided us with a basis. But over time, I learned also that what works today might not always work tomorrow. So as I took advantage of opportunities, I always looked at the sustainability of those opportunities and how I can perhaps proof it for tomorrow. So several things I like to do include diversify. So while I started with the restaurant, I went into catering. I also, in the Port Harcourt area, also noted that there was again a gap in the market for family entertainment. And that led me to building the Genesis Center in Port Harcourt, and the idea of the cinema did come up as we were doing that. And now we've been able to again build that, and we have 11 cinemas across Nigeria. And again, based on the demand, again, another gap in the market from the oil companies, we went on to do the hotels, and we were able to have hotels in Port Harcourt and Lagos as we speak now. And snack food manufacturing is part of our diversification, where we produce snacks that are mainly targeted at the mass market, closer to the bottom of the pyramid, that sell for the 20 nairas and 15 nairas, because of, again, the teeming population in the country of young people going to school. But it's also it was a very important strategy in our diversifying our portfolio towards remaining resilient in the marketplace. Over time, I've also known that one had to build a brand, something for himself, both on a personal basis and as a company. We always wanted that people will identify our company with a particular thing in mind. So we always wanted it to, when you think of Genesis, think of people who are providing exceptional services, think of quality, and think of we giving you value for whatever bracket you find our product in. And so we play from the 15 naira sausage roll and snack food to a 4-star hotel in Lagos, to casual restaurants, to slightly finer dining, industrial catering. Wherever we find ourselves, we we hope that you are able to perceive us as providing quality. I think some of these things help over time. So for me, it's resilience is not something that happens when there's a pandemic like COVID or something that's a disruption. It's something that one has to build in the DNA of the business, and that by focusing on the businesses you are doing and trying to strengthen it and grow it, you would attract slightly better quality or better quality people to support your vision and help you grow the business, as people like success stories and they like to see where opportunities are available for them to also grow and learn. So growth for me remains an important aspect of resilience. Diversification remains an important aspect of resilience. Remaining persistent, determined, disciplined, focused. I mean, these are some of the things we come across on a daily basis, and His Excellency has also mentioned a bit on that, also very important aspects of resilience. So the word doggedness comes to my mind, and I do remember when I was coming to Port Harcourt, and I started building this restaurant in Port Harcourt, and one day I was leaving. My sister, who works with me as the finance director, called me and said, "Bros, please, do you have a minute? I'd like to discuss something with you." And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm going to Port Harcourt, but I think I can have some time to spare before I hit the road." So she said to me, in those early days, "Please, I've seen how you worked hard to set this place up, and just wanted to ask you a question. What if this thing does not work?" And at that point, he hit me, and I said, "You know what? I never really thought about what if this doesn't work." And I therefore didn't have a plan B in those early days. So one of the things I must make sure is that it works. So I had to even double my effort, knowing that I didn't have a plan B, that if it doesn't work. Since then, by the grace of God, it did work. But these days, I first doubled the effort, but I also try to have plan Bs, and knowing that the things could also go wrong. It didn't always have to go as well as it did in this particular instance. So for me, resilience, it's a journey. It's not a destination. So every day I'm looking at what is working and what is not. I also come to believe strongly that what even works today may not necessarily work tomorrow. And so sometimes I've seen myself doing some good businesses in the initial time. It was ad hoc catering for the oil and gas companies. I did so well. But I plan for when that disappears or when others catch up to what is making money for me, and then therefore that will not go. I also plan in such a way that I have several businesses by the grace of God, but connected in a way. Most of them are connected. For instance, most of our hospitality businesses, as far as I'm concerned, are connected because we aim to provide quality service. Either it's a good cinema experience or good restaurant experience made up of good customer service and tasty food, or quality services with our hotels and experience in our hotels, or quality snack foods. All of those things are around customer experience. But what helps us is that in a way they are diversified. So when sometimes one is down, another is there to carry the weight of the business to the extent that it can. Because the key for us is to always stay alive. That if we stay alive and plan ahead, we know that the good times will come again. And when the good times come, we are prepared to take advantage of it. But we also know that there will always be downturns. And over the past 15 years, starting from the first one that hit me in 2009 during the global financial crisis, I have come to realize that there will always be downturns. And that hit me perhaps unexpectedly much earlier in my career. And since then, I've tried to plan for the downturns. It hit me most in the steel trading business because we had devaluations, we had market crashing, we had surplus stock in the marketplace, and it was huge. And we therefore took a lot of hits that at some point I felt might have even crippled the business. Doggedness, but most especially the grace of God, And the diversification that I had in place helped me overcome that particular time. And funnily, since it happens every 5 years, by 2004, it did happen again. Slightly more prepared, devaluations again, low oil prices, because I operate in mainly the oil region, again hit our business. But I'm happier during the COVID that it wasn't as bad for me as it is, or as it was in the first two instances, because learning from experience, which I now share, we've been able to diversify both our customer base, our service base, and even key risk things in our business, which includes our borrowings to the banks that allowed us to weather the storm more. It's important to also mention that one of the things that, again, has helped our resilience is reinvesting in the business over the years of 30 years, I think, building into the business with the confidence, and we've applied to reinvesting most of what we make back into the business has helped. It did help in the 2009, and it has also helped now to keep us on our feet. Said, "He who lives to fight will fight another day." And and that's in a nutshell how we've managed to keep the Genesis Group still on. We are reopening thanks to the governor. Our cinemas have opened last weekend in Lagos, and the rest of the other cities in the country are reopening. Our factories are back on. Our hotels are back on. Our restaurants are coming back with restrictions and ramping up. We're now looking forward to the future, which we are looking to continue to develop a crop of young people who can take over from us. We have a strong board. It's important for executive board, and also developing our external board. It's important for the resilience, because a lot of what I've talked about I didn't do by myself, including some of the diversifications we've had. It's come from people inside the group. They are dedicated executive directors running the different businesses that we have, and who continue to champion the cause of those businesses. They now have, we started it, leaders, we call them emerging leaders, and created a program for them where we use them to champion the next growth. And we are even paying, for that, from this COVID again, paying much more attention to developing them and preparing them to take over, the management positions and the leadership positions and the directorship positions as they come. So we are conscious that investing in our people, attracting quality people to join us, remains an important aspect of resilience, building resilience into our business. Because as the size of the business right now, it's imperative that there are quality people across the board that will help to drive that. And to all of this, we actually, giving a lot of the glory to God for seeing us through and directing our ways. Okay, so that's how far we've gone and what we're doing to drive resilience in our business. I'll leave the rest of the time to also take questions from the audience, and then they will be able to share more in this session. Thank you, Ngozi.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Oh, that was quite on point. Thank you so much. I will formally welcome on board Clara Okoro. She's our public relations officer and part of the public relations officer for the Executive Alumni Community, and she's here. Over to you, Clara. Over to you, Clara. Are you here? Okay, while waiting, I think I can go ahead. Thank you so much once more. One of the things I took from your talk today is this. Okay, she's on, so I'll let her be. Okay. Welcome.
All right, thank you very much, Ngozi, and thank you, everyone. It's really been a very extraordinary day. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very much, Dr. Nnaeto Orazulike, for that insightful presentation and what we've learned about resiliency. A lot of us will go back to our drawing boards to implement you once again for giving us the honor, and thank you everyone for still holding on till now. We'll be wrapping up shortly. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Welcome back. We're about to enter into the moderator session. And our moderator today is Monica Nwosu. She's a phenomenal woman, and I will just read her bio a bit so that we're all on the same page. She's a chartered management consultant and belongs to a lot of international communities. Is involved in reaching out to women and young adults through mentoring. I want to welcome Monica. Are you here? Over to you as you take the Q&A session.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Orazulike. In fact, my notes are filled. I have been writing and writing and writing. Thank you so much for sharing such loads of insight with us. It was very, very insightful. Your session was very, very practical. Thank you. In fact, anytime I go to Port Harcourt, I do not miss to go to Genesis restaurant at the airport. I will deliberately just wait until I go eat there because of the quality of the food and the freshness and the taste. And sincerely, I am not missing words when I say this. Thank you so much. And thank you, Faith Foundation, for those privileges. Right? I will just quickly go through some of the insights, just like one of the things that I've learned from you is that, look, we cannot prepare or be resilient before,
Monica, sorry, excuse me, can you come on? You need your video on, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you all see me?
Yes, we can.
All
yes,
right. So I was saying that there will always be disruptions. There will always be turbulence. And then we cannot wait until, it comes. We need to prepare for it. What works today definitely will not work tomorrow. So as entrepreneurs, we need to really put that at the back of our mind that what works today may not work tomorrow. And very key thing that you said, in fact, you said it repeatedly, is that resilience, being resilient, it's not a journey, it's a destination. So it's something that we need to constantly put in focus as entrepreneurs. Thank you so much. I could go on and on and on and on. In fact, there's this one that I'm going to hashtag immediately after this event, and that is a gap in the market and a market in the gap. So you must identify that location where there is market gap, not just identify the gaps, but identify that location where you have the market for that service, for that product that you need, that you want to, you want everyone to, to buy into. We must always have a plan B. And if there is anyone that is in doubt, I think this COVID-19 has shown to us that truly and honestly, we must have a plan B. We must have a plan B in order for us to remain in business. And of course, we must always look at sustainability at every opportunity. It's so easy to jump at every opportunity that we see. But one key thing that you said that struck me so hard is that we must look for the sustainability in every opportunity. We just don't jump at every opportunity. See, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But really, I want to stop here and I want to look at my Q&A session. I want to encourage the attendees, please put in your question in the Q&A section so that Mr. Orazulike can help us. We can tap from his load of experience. He's loaded 30 years of being an entrepreneur in Nigeria environment. Trust me, it is not child's play. He has loads of experience and I'm sure he's willing and ready to share with us. Now, while we await the questions, so I want to ask you one or two questions as we wait for the attendees to throw in their question. You said something very fundamental as a closing remark. You said attracting quality people remains an important aspect, an important component of resilience. And I completely and honestly will agree with you, because I, as an entrepreneur myself that run a small SME in the consulting firm, I discovered that one of the greatest challenge that, that a lot of us face was the challenge of people, our people, managing them, retaining them. Number one, retaining them, then number two, sustaining them. Sustaining them particularly, when it comes to keeping them and all of that. What are those particular things that you did? And considering your own industry is such that you have to deal with a whole lot of people, Now, please, I want you to share with us that what are those particular things that you have to do, especially at these turbulent times, because that was one of the greatest challenge for me, particularly as an entrepreneur. What were those things that you had to do to retain and to sustain your people? Because really having quality people, and then they're very important, and of course you cannot do without having people around you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much, Monica. Thanks for your continued patronage of the Genesis brand. Really appreciate that. It helps us. So, we realized this again a long time ago, and thanks to some of my team that also came up with a program. So we have about 3 different levels of program that we run. So there's one that is the management trainee program. So young graduates come in and we train them to work in our businesses and show them an insight of where we are going to be going. We also take some slightly more experienced people, 3-4 years of experience, and after we work for a while and shown some qualities that we admire and think they can become leaders, we also put them into what we call the emerging leaders program. And we have this consultant who comes and trains them over a course of 12 months actually, and on different aspects of leadership. Okay, and of course we have our executive directors that continue to get trained in leadership and other relevant programs. But how do we retain them? Starting from your most critical really is the top leaders. They must buy into your vision, and it doesn't happen automatically. Okay, you could be lucky, you find some people, and then they need to trust you. It's not easy to entrust their future with you. So they need to trust you, and you have to share the plans, and you have to be true with your plans. And that's what I think. I don't know why they follow me from when I was 21 till now. But I think if you ask me, I think it's that honesty of purpose that allows them to believe that if I say, okay, I'm going to do this, I will do it. And also give reasons for why I don't do certain things that they would expect me to do. I'm the leader not because of a democracy, I'm the leader who would have to, you have to trust, and that I will take the right decisions in the best interest of the business. But very importantly, apart from compensation, we're also working on bonus that we agree together, KPIs, and we match it with bonuses that we agree together, and we're working hard to ensure that we are honest about it and we implement it. So if you lose a portion of 100, you're in a better position to make 100 than if you want to hold everything. So a little bit of that would fall and make, as people grow, it's their needs also grows, and so you have to accommodate that in your thinking and allow for the fact that people should be able to grow as much as they can in your organization, and that the organization should provide a platform that should make it large enough for the person to grow individually as opposed to him stepping out to starting his own. So those are some for the top leaders. Those are some of the things that we've done, and I think it is working because we managed to retain most of our leaders. Then we also look and say, look, over the past few years, quite honestly, we're trying to look for ready-made general managers and things like that. And we've not been extremely successful at that. Our best successes are people who have grown within our business and reached certain levels, and we retain them better, they understand the system, they're more true to the brand. So conversations we are now having again today to join with what we've always been doing in our emerging leaders is to support our growth. For instance, we're building 5 restaurants, we are doing about 6 cinemas as we speak, one in Port Harcourt, we're doing it in Douala, Festac, Owerri, Benin, expanding our businesses. We need a different crop of people that would run them. And we're saying, okay, instead of waiting to get that magic general manager, what if we took today middle management, people in their 30s who are hungry to grow, and then within 3 to 5 years, they understand the system, they demonstrate the leadership attributes we are looking for, and the chemistry also gels. That we are better off looking for those people than constantly, and then we train them also than looking for those magic managers. So we are taking from some people who have trained, and we're now looking out. And so anybody who knows anybody who's really keen on joining the business, we're also willing to interview the person. We're now looking out to grab another stream of people, fuse them with our internal people, and then grow them. But how do we retain them is your question. It's really, we're promising them growth, because that growth is for them, is out there for them to see. We're showing them we're expanding the restaurant, we're expanding the snack food production, we're expanding the hotels. Over the COVID period, we started new hotels, and because opportunities emerged that others didn't see, and we also saw in the Port Harcourt area. And we're expanding the cinemas. And so most of our businesses, again, luckily, are ones that lend themselves to ability to expand. So I also encourage entrepreneurs, as they choose businesses that are scalable, the ones that you can expand, you can grow. Because it also helps you attract quality. You can say to somebody, I mean, as we speak today, we are 30-something restaurants, we can actually go to 100 across the country, depending on our appetite. So it's,
thank you, sir.
There's scalability on all of those, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, I can hear you, Monica.
So not just like a way of summary, one of the key things that did it for you is building trust. And this trust is built over time, capacity development of your people, and most importantly, making them understand, the long-term plan of the organization. And I think this is a really serious lesson for me. As a small organization growing in the consulting world, I had my short-term and long-term goals, or short-term and long-term plans. And then for me, well, the strategy we adopted was, trying to release our long-term plans in packets, within a particular time frame. And what that actually did for us was to help us, protect, quote and unquote, our trade secrets. It's a consulting word, and intellectual property and ideas, and of course, your major trade secrets. But I think I am trying to rethink all of that because of this pandemic. Because what then happened was that I had to now unveil all of the plans to my people to say, okay, this is what we wanted to do, but we can't do it now. This is what. But if I had shared with them earlier on, it would have helped them to be in line, and it would have helped them to key in. So that's one of the biggest points I'm getting from this. That look, unveil it, let your people in. And I took a lot of time. We took a lot of time trying to teach our people, trying to unveil a lot of our plans to them, to say, oh, in December we were planning to do this, but at this now we can't do it anymore. We are going to now do that. That's a very good one and a very good lesson I'm learning. And another thing again I learned from what you said is career path. Making your people understand that they have headroom, there's growth for them in the organization, so that they can feel that they belong, engagement of people. Thank you so much, sir. I have a lot of my own questions I want to add, but I don't want to be selfish. Let me try and take other people's questions, and I'll come back to my own questions. Okay, someone is saying, Bidemi wants to find out that you started at a very tender age, really, very young age, 21, immediately after your youth service. So what caught it for you? How were you able to cope, with the financial demands, with financial and management demands, particularly when it comes to, managing your staff and, dealing with overtime? How were you able to manage this? PME wants to know, and I'm sure every other person here wants to know. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the financial side, I was again lucky to be able to get, with a lot of persuasion, family and friends funding at an early stage. And to attract that kind of funding, I had to scale the business. So I started again at a very small scale. So like I told you, just 6 people, small restaurant, but I tried to do it extremely well to be able to put my budgets to work, the amount of money I had access to work. And like I said, the rest is history. But again, managing the financial part as I do required me both building confidence in the family and friends, and then also building confidence in my customers. And then finally, my bankers, when I was able to start to access bank funding. So the first loan we got when we got to Port Harcourt from FSB Bank, they required that the manager, who was my friend, put his salary on the table and said, this guy doesn't, because I had no collateral to offer the bank. And so they did all assets debenture on the fixed and closing assets of Genesis, whatever, both present and future acquisitions. And I said, that's fine, I believe important to work that out. And so that's how we managed to slowly build confidence. And as time went on, whatever profits we made, we invested in real estate. And then subsequently, used the real estate to secure further lending. Luckily, over time, the values of the real estate rose, and therefore our ability to borrow continued to rise. Although other innovative financing structures like invoice discounting helped us to manage finances. So we would work for the company by taking goods of credit from suppliers, deliver the service to a shell, and discount the invoice from shell to pay for the services. So those also help us, but all the systems have to also work efficiently. How do you manage the people? Always the most tricky and difficult one. And from my early stage, like I said, the only one person was actually younger than me. Like I was 19, I was 21, the rest were older. Building that confidence in them, I think, helped a lot. Okay, and I would say share the dreams and also make them part of developing the dreams. Just coming back to your own conversation that also marries with this one. Let them be part of it. Let it not just be your own strategy. It helped us a lot that we have annual strategies. A consulting firm helps us to put together the annual strategies, and our 5-year, 10-year rolling strategies actually developed together with the team. So I think it helped, and over time has helped the planning. So almost always people see where we are going. But there's also a lot of responsibility for me as the leader to keep an eye on that ball and keep steering the team. They don't lose confidence, they don't lose faith, that we can get there. And with time, small wins, sort of makes people happy. And then they go for bigger wins. And so we've seen ourselves doing more than we ever thought. One day, a few years ago, I looked at the business plan that I came to Port Harcourt with in 1993 that I shared with the FSB Bank. And one day enough, Fidelity Bank acquired FSB, and I eventually sat on the board of Fidelity Bank with an affiliate. But looking at the business strategy that I used then, it was a joke because we had gone down a million times more than what we thought was even our initial capacity. So as we went on, we modified those strategies with the team, not just by ourselves. We have the original vision. We share the strategy with the team, and they help develop it. And so I've enjoyed quite a lot of benefit from sharing their strategy, their vision with the team, and allowing them to be part of that evolution.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I have another interesting question, in fact, very interesting questions. So I'm going to merge these questions together. One of the questions is saying that how did you structure salary as a beginner, as a starter, as a new entrepreneur? Because that's one of the greatest challenges that we face as entrepreneurs, knowing what to pay in order to retain your people. How are you able, as a young entrepreneur, how are you able to structure pay? How are you able to structure salary such that it helps you to sustain your people? And then another person said, how were you able to sustain loyalty, considering your kind of industry? It is easy for someone to just, dub your model and run with it. How were you able to open up so much and yet you're able to sustain loyal staff and loyal staff? How were you able to do that? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so sustain loyalty. Let me start with sustaining loyalty. So over time, you can't hold down people. Okay, so I would encourage you, and I talked about it, you know, building the brand. Let your brand be, I actually started by trying that my brand is larger than myself. So frequently, most people don't know who is behind Genesis, and just a few do, and I think. And, you know, I like the Genesis brand stand forward to be what shines and that will attract us quality people. And then hopefully they will find a place that they will be proud of working in Genesis. But apart from being proud to work in Genesis, of course, there are pay issues, okay, that you would necessarily have to be able to try to match with what is available in your own industry. But you know, for staff, you are competing with not just your industry, but with the larger market. Okay, so if you have a good accountant, the accountant can go to Shell or can go to anywhere. So a few things we try to do is first enrich the job, and then create structures around the job so that even if somebody goes, somebody else can take over for the kind of businesses we do. And then finally, create opportunities in the job so that they can always have
opportunities in the job.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Creating opportunities.
So create opportunities in the job. Wow. And then of course open up build structures around whatever it is you're doing, such that your business is not hinged only on one person. I am into the ISO management system. I do ISO certification for organizations, so I understand perfectly well what it means to build structure. Because the truth is, no business can be sustainable without you building structures. And the truth is, when one staff, you hear people say, one staff is on leave or one staff has gone, and it looks as if the entire department is closing down because one staff is on leave or one person. So when I go to audit and they say the audit cannot hold because one staff is on leave, and I'm like, hey, this department cannot be built. Okay, what if that person decides not to come back and decides to go from that leave? So we need to build, no matter how minimal it is, you need to define what you do and how you do it. Know what you do and how you do it, so that even if one person cannot, even if you have up to 3-4 persons in a department or in a process handling a particular unit, other people also know what is happening within that space. Before I go back to my own question, let me ask you this very interesting question. Very, very interesting. It says, how were you able to, to have strategic partnership? How you should share practical examples of how you were able to build and retain strategic partnerships. And then someone also stated that he is interested in, investing in cinemas, especially around the South, that what opportunities are there. Will you be willing to take on a boarding cinema within the South region? And then of course, I'm trying to combine it with a strategic partnership. How do you, because what this person is actually looking at is trying to build collaboration. And of course, the new word for competition now is collaboration. And so as entrepreneur, if we want to collaborate, what are the things we must be looking at in order for us to strategically, build that partnership and effectively, retain that relationship? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I hope I'm attracting the strategic partnership from the right angle. Because for me, always building the strategic partnership, having people having mutual trust and confidence in one another. And then also, very importantly, each party bringing value to the table. Where they bring value to the table, it's easy to have partnerships that work. So there is something I bring to the table, there is something you build to the table, and so it creates a win-win for us. I take it back to the days when there were about 90-something banks in the country, or 89 banks, and every bank employer comes to me and says, well, I want you to open an account. So if you don't open it, then they will sack you.
Monica.
Okay.
So that didn't bring value. There was no value the person was saying. And the banker who got value and said to me, listen, I've studied your business. I can reduce your interest expense by 50%. That person immediately caught my attention, and we were able to have a conversation, around how I would, and actually then went on to open that account, and they became my #1 bank. So you've got to go to strategic partnership with what value you bring to the table and what you expect to extract. So if I go to the guy who's, or the person who wants to do the cinema in the South, there must be value, whether it's to me or another cinema company that you're going to be bringing to the table. Is it management? Is it location? You bring something to the table that will encourage both parties to discuss and find, setting up a cinema in Ghana, is very expensive business.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We could go on and on and on. So by way of closing, fortunately our time is fast spent. I just want to ask you, let me be selfish, please. Let me just want to ask this closing question. There's a popular quote that says that the only thing we learn from history is that we don't learn anything from history. And I just wanted to know, what are the key critical elements or critical factors that we must put into, aside from resilience, because we have actually said a lot on that, what are other factors or other elements that we must put into consideration? Okay, assuming in the next 5, 7, 8, 10 years, this kind of pandemic happens again. I mean, we have all gone through it. You have even gone through more than 2, 3 different turbulent times in your business experience. What are the critical elements or critical factors that entrepreneurs, especially SMEs, must put in place to ensure that they remain, very strong and strategic if they are to face any turbulent time in the next future? Thank you.
Okay, that was a very difficult one. I think it's really around the things we've already talked about. You just got to keep pushing at it. You just got to make it stronger, working capital. You've got to be. After I made my first mistake of not having a plan B, you must have a plan B. You have to know at the back of your mind that things can go wrong, and they may go wrong. Okay, we talked about, you can't leave your businesses open to key man risks, so you should get your team involved, and as much as you can expand, and you must continue to grow. If you don't grow, the chances that you die, so you can't relax. You just have to keep going. I think sometimes, you've got to be extremely cautious. Some of the things I learned over that time, as like the governor also mentioned, is that now I started to stay away more and more from foreign exchange risk, because on 2 occasions they hit me, and almost crippled me, and subsequently I learned to stay away from the foreign exchange risk. What am I then doing going forward now that it's that? I also say I should try and have fun while at it. So as I grow my business, I should also enjoy time, because time doesn't come back to us. Sure. As I put all of this into consideration.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. We're so grateful for you. We could go on and on and on. In fact, there's 1 or 2 questions I had to skip because of time. We're so grateful, for your for the opportunity to that you have given to us to be able to tap from your wealth of experience. We're so grateful. Thank you. And then I want to thank all the participants and panelists. Thank you so much. And then particularly the host, ED and Faith Foundation team. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, Faith Foundation, to speak with Mr. Orazulike. I really feel so privileged. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I am handing over, Madam Sec, please let me hand over to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Madam Piero, Clara, over to you, please.
All right, once again, thank you so much, Monica. Thank you, Dr. Nnaeto Orazulike. It's really been a very exhaustive day, but one thing I truly respect Faith Foundation for is a stickler for timing, and that's what every entrepreneur should take away from Faith Foundation. We're absolutely grateful for everyone that made time to be with us today, and tomorrow is another day. I can assure you a very intense learning experience tomorrow if you join us. Thank you once again, Monica Nwosu. Thank you, Dr. Orazulike. Thank you, the whole executive, for all that you have done, and to our capable ED. Thank you, everybody. Thank you once again. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, before we thank you so. Sorry, sir, we didn't hear you. Sorry, I cut in.
It was a pleasure to be with you all, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll invite you once more because of your wealth of knowledge. We need more and more again. Thank you so much. Before we leave this, bye, sir. Before we leave this this conference, I want to just share key things. One of the key things, I hope you wrote things down. Remember to hashtag Faith Conference is very important. Now, I want to give you a task. Everyone here listening, could you take a picture of yourself and hashtag Faith Conference and highlight what you've taken home today? I will do that immediately after this conversation, because the lessons learned here will change our thinking pattern and give us a quantum leap for this season. I will leave you with keywords. The governor said something to us, Mr. Governor Jide Sanwo-olu said something very key. And I think entrepreneurs here should please remember to utilize it. The CAMA, there are 250 free CAMA registrations that you can utilize. Please use it if you're not registered yet. And I want to remind us to stay true to our brand. Stay true to your brand. Find ways to navigate, but stay true to your brand. I also want to remind you that resilience is a journey, not a destination. Many of us are struggling with certain things, but remember that resilience is a journey, not a destination. And this is one of the encouraging words I also took from it. Then I remember board members are crucial. So our assignment is get board members, the ones crucial to your journey. That's one of the things I've done that has helped and is still helping. They make you look good, even if you don't know everything. And then we have to involve ourselves in engaging in policy making. We will no longer sit by the sidelines. Every one of us, we're available. Let's work together. Remember the word I used last time in Butu. You are, I am, because you are. Together we become. I will want to remind you that tomorrow is Power Pact. It's very important. You know, okay, someone said here that the CAMA is incomplete. I guess while we're sending thank you notes, we'll send them a full, complete information about the CAMA registration. So I will go ahead. I want to just say tomorrow is Power Pact. We have John Abaro of System Specs. I don't want you to miss it. We have Dr. Stella Okoli of Emzo Pharmaceuticals. Please, please don't miss it. And then because you are in our mind, you're very crucial. We want you to excel in spite of the situations all around us. We have a program we are unveiling tomorrow. Do not miss tomorrow's event. The Faith Foundation and the Executive Alumni have something planned that is so beneficial that will blow your mind. So will you be ready early tomorrow, 9:30 a.m.? Invite your friends, do a hashtag, and let's complete this conference. Remember, if we're paying for this conference, it cost us like $1,000. But here it's free. Make use of it. I am, and I'm not remaining the same. So remember to take a snapshot and hashtag. Before we leave, I want to remind you to, we have our awards coming up and we need you to vote. Let me remember the voting. Please, can someone repost the vote again? We need people to vote. Can we put in the chat? People should try to vote for our FAME award. Where is it? I think it was posted, please. I'm barely seeing it here. Can someone please repost it again? And the slides, I think there will be a summary of slides and other things to be sent while we're sending our thank you email. Notwithstanding, please vote for our Faith Model Entrepreneur and our Faith Alumni Model Entrepreneur Awards for this year. With you, together we become, we excel. Remember, tomorrow is another day. So I'm rounding off, I'll see you. Today was a highlight for me. Tomorrow is still an answered prayer. Bye, take care. Thank you so much. Mr. Fatai. Is there any other thing?